Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another interesting, exciting, and informative day. To inform us, of course, who is going to make it to our ALGS championships and who is going to be left behind. You do not want to be in that second category, but you've got 6 games at least in a match point final style to prove that you belong. 2 teams will travel on to Birmingham in September. 18 will watch from the sidelines. Let's find out who it is as we open up the show of the NA LCQ. My name is Rain Day, and I am joined by some of my favorite talent across the world. We had a big EMEA show. We took a small break, and we are back to finish off the day. And of course, to get us started with introductions, it's none other than Mark Onset Hatcher. How you feeling, man, about this performance that we saw in EMEA? And of course, translating now into a whole new region with North America.
And then, of course, we got to look at NA. I mentioned about EMEA, how people got the job done, but North America, a different beast. I feel like there's a lot of depth and talent here, and we talked about how the disappointment is going to be there for some of the teams in EMEA, not making it with just 2 spots available. Well, times that by 100 here in North America, because it just feels like there's so many teams that are deserving to be on that stage, but unfortunately, we can only send 2.
And this gives us an idea of the roster scramble as well, keeping up to date with some of these new nuances of these teams, some of the direction of the IGLs, and some of the new players that burst onto the scene, making us say, wow, we have to highlight them. Dan, of course, joining Onset as well. How do you feel going into NA and this LCQ, my man?
For NA, I mean, there are 9 challenger teams, so a little bit different from EMEA where we only had 4, but a lot of former pros that have played in the Pro League, that have competed, that have now found themselves on new teams in challenger to try and get back into Pro League, and are going to want to make a big difference here in this LCQ. Just like EMEA, you would be crazy to try and predict who is actually going to get out of this one. Of course, we know who has had more points coming from the winners bracket, but as we also saw in EMEA, that didn't mean there was a guarantee as to who was going to be those 2 teams. So 2 teams to get to championship today. I can't wait. Let's get into it.
It's actually quite interesting to look at how we have seen, I think, the progress of North America and EMEA as regions when it comes to LAN play. They've actually had a chance to go toe-to-toe. We've been not interregional for a very long time in Apex going through these years. And especially if you're in the crowd and you're in those moments, it's even more special. If you missed what happened just last week in London, where all of the regions clashed like they will in the championships, here's a little teaser to show you what it was like. Arena in London.
They get the first stop on the score, they get 2 on that slot, only 1 left on the D's, and Gambare on Dosan. If they gets 1, if Fans gets 2, he almost gets them all. Going long fire, with NRC back, Sweet has nothing, no weapons, no ammo, he's waiting for the Sheila to come back. Good try to have the Sheila bring it in. Oh my god! It is destruction from on high.
It was an exciting time for sure, and just seeing Dark Zero lift that trophy yet again for the third time in the modern era of Apex Lands, it's special. Can they do it again? We will find out if it comes to champs. Absolutely. You know, I think too, the other thing that I kind of wanted to hit on is that if you haven't been around champs and you don't know following up to this, we have most of our teams qualified for this event, but we have the last few this weekend being basically decided for this, and it's going to be a moment you do not want to miss. Whether you're a fan of Dark Zero, of LG Chivas, who perform really well, Fire Beavers, who have tried to enter into this fray, having such a great online performance, translating that to LAN, having some issues, complexity as well, the personality of Monsoon, F-Chan with Pulverax, Alliance, the strong and maybe disappointing showcase. All these teams will be there in our championship, and we are continuing to show you this list because it just gets better. We crowned Go Next and LCDF their spots as well, which was super exciting. And also we're having a chance to add on the tally with 2 NA teams today. One of the most exciting things about it is that the championship dates, are set. It is September 6th through 10th in Birmingham, UK. Get your tickets right here. Use that link in the middle of your screen. You could just take a look at it for a moment, type that into your browser or your mobile phone, and make sure you grab your tickets now because they are running out. We sold out for Split 2 playoffs. You know we're selling out for championships, especially because it's at the brand new, for us, venue of Resorts World Arena, Birmingham, UK. Like I said, September 6th through 10th. Join us, whether you're a community member, whether you're traveling with a group, or maybe alone. Have a new experience and be a part of a community that will welcome you, especially as we have had our 3rd trip to England this year. Very exciting stuff. And Mark and Dan, I know you haven't had to travel that far, but actually, Dan, you know, you kind of have to spend a lot of time in the car to get to where we are. So it tends to be almost as long as half a plane flight anyways.
On the car, on the plane, I'm all over the place nowadays. Am I in England? Am I in America? Who knows? I like to keep people on their toes. I like to dip between regions just like we are today. And, you know, North America has brought champions. I guess Dark Zero are kind of a North American team as well nowadays. I still want to say it was very impressive that they moved to the most dominant region and still then qualify and still win. Very impressive stuff as they continue to surprise us every single time.
Yeah, and there won't be an empty arena, that's for sure. You'll see people yelling, whether it's Vexed or, well, obviously, even if they're not, since they're not qualified, still, you'll see representation from that fan base no matter where they go. Alliance and Dark Zero. But if you did miss it, here's just an honorary kind of video for what our fans bring to the table in terms of energy at these live events.
Let's go, Dreamfire! Let's go, MT1!
Vamos Luminosity!
Let's go, TSM!
Let's go Alliance! Let's go Dreamfire!
Let's go, J-Lings!
Let's go Dark Zero! Let's go Dreamfire!
Let's go, Dreamfire!
Let's go Dark Zero!
Let's go, E6! Let's go! Let's go, E6! Let's go! Let's go, Oxygen!
Feeling Vex! Feeling Vex! Yeah!
Passion, Mark. That's really all there is to say.
Yeah, I mean, some of the noises that were being made by the fans were rocking the stage while we were there. It was crazy, dude. And some of the signs, I gotta say, is to this day the most technologically advanced signage we have ever seen in esports events. There was LEDs, there was all kinds of stuff going in there. Honestly, it's amazing that everyone turns up in such numbers every single time we have a LAN event. And Champs is going to be a special one. If you think Split 1 and Split 2 was good, the playoffs, well, Champs is going to be a different beast altogether. So don't miss out.
MDY White, those neon signs, that was pretty cool as well. I loved our APAC representation. All right, let's take a look back to the LCQ and kind of hone in on the micro discussion that we have here, because we have teams that are trying to make it into that illustrious tournament, and they haven't had a chance yet to prove that they are there. Some of the teams you'll see in a moment have actually been at playoffs, didn't perform well. They're here competing again to try to redeem themselves. And here's how it will go. We're playing at least 6 games today. I want to point that out to you guys. This format is pretty similar to the match point finals format you're accustomed to in Apex Legends competitive, but it's got one big change. We will play at least 6 games no matter what. So even if a team happens to get on the match point quickly, say after 3 games and wins in 5, or maybe even wins in 4, we will still play out the 6. That is in order to determine after 6 games who is rightfully in the second place position in terms of overall points, or maybe even first in terms of points, but just obviously didn't win our match point system. All in all, that will qualify the 2 top performing teams having a spot in our ALGS Year 3 championship. And Dan, we saw it work out in EMEA. Obviously, it didn't go before 6, but it is possible, and North America may be the region to do so.
Yeah, maybe, especially some of the dominance we've seen from this region. We might see a team just absolutely blow us out of the water. And I really like these changes. I think it's good for the competitive integrity for the players and also for the fans to make sure we're at least guaranteed 6 games. Usually we're going to go to 7 or 8, but just in that off chance that someone dominates like they have done before in previous regions, we're just going to make sure that we get the right amount of games for everyone.
It's definitely possible to happen. We will see, though, of course. Last game was a bit of a slow burn with a high crescendo with many teams on match point. We'll see if that continues here. For the overall participants, you've got a lot of names that you probably recognize if you're a fan of North America, but a lot of new names as well. And in those new names, maybe some old names. I guess the Dojo stands out. It's Timmy, one of the biggest streamers and content creators in Apex Legends, playing here competitively with Bronzy, Designful, and Enemy in that representation of the Dojo. A lot of teams here that you can kind of put your eye on and have a conversation about, Mark.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some huge names, right? You've got Meat Lovers, Tech, once again, finding a way to get a team together to be in this position. I almost feel like Tech deserves it after all he's been through this split, to be honest with you. You know, love him or hate him, the guy has been through the ringer, and certainly I think Meat Lovers fans, which there are a lot of out there, will want to see them qualifying for the championships. But then you're looking at Furia, you've got them in there as well. E8, some huge names there as well. Dropping Gaming, the same can be said. Team Stability. I mean, like you say, take your pick. There's some good challenger circuit teams coming through as well, but big names going to miss out, and that's always a difficult thing to have to kind of call these games knowing that that's in the back of your mind.
That's where we are at the season, almost at the very end and the last event. This one, though, their last chance to make a move. Teams have already been playing, though. If you want to know, the Dojo, that team I just mentioned with It's Timmy and Bronzy, and by the way, just having had the opportunity to cast It's Timmy in some of these more casual competitive events sponsored by other teams, other companies, my goodness, is that guy on fire in terms of at least his mechanical skill and know-how. It has worked and transitioned well to get 10 points here. Furia following behind with Meat Lovers right after that, guys. But this will be how they head into this lobby with those 10 points already in hand. So if they do well, we could see match point very, very soon. Leading into today, though, we have to pick a little bit and choose in terms of the stories that we go after and at least highlight in the beginning of the broadcast, which is why I want to kick off our ones to watch. Mark, I'll start with you. Who is your one to watch heading into North America's LCQ?
I'm watching Furia, and somebody has to say it, right? It's been a bit of turmoil. Obviously, playoffs did not go their way. Very disappointing performance. Here's Watson announces that he's going to be stepping down from competitive and focusing on his content creation. This was what happened. 37th place overall. Nothing short of disappointing, and I think that everybody was expecting something to change with the lineup. Maybe Here's Watson retiring was somewhat a surprise. We'll hope to see him back in the future. We have seen, of course, people coming out of retirement when an opportunity does arise, but what a player to pick up. They picked up Albrelelli, who I just feel like has been looking for somewhere to consistently call home for about a year or so now, and I just feel on this Furia lineup, maybe this is going to be their home. The first step to making it feel very comfortable, though, is of course qualifying for champs. So I think Furia is certainly going to be one to watch today, certainly a favorite, and I feel with their firepower they can take over this lobby.
Yeah, Furia are a very terrifying team, especially when you add Albrelelli. I'm going to look at another terrifying team. Usually I go for a team who's finished first, but now I'm going to go for a little bit of a curveball. I'm going to go for the Meat Lovers, because they are a squad who always seem to be there or thereabouts, getting involved in LCQs, getting close to it. They didn't quite make it to playoffs, but during Pro League, they certainly showed that they can hang with the biggest of dogs. Tech does it again. I always think that Tech has a great brain for Apex Legends, so I'm excited to see what they can do today. They have points to start with in this finals lobby and a great opportunity to get into those championships. And I tell you what, it would be a great story for not just Tech, but this entire roster if they're able to do so, especially with a new pickup. So we'll have to see whether they're able to achieve it today, but certainly a team to keep our eye on rain day.
Well, one team that I was going to look at, Dan and Mark, was the Dojo. And if you look at their performance yesterday, it's Timmy scored more kills in that tournament leading up to this than any other team beneath him. He himself had 36 kills. They finished with 162 points. That is insane. And so, of course, we had to make our man in Spain on the scene. Well, not really, but I guess, we can call him on the scene here. Dia, on his vacation, break down the Dojo for us and what we can expect today.
Hello everyone, it's Dia, back with an update on our LCQ teams. This time, from the Challenger Circuit, we've got the Dojo showing up in the finals. Now, the Dojo are an interesting team. With Timmy, Designful, and Enemy, they were always meant to frag out, but this wasn't happening during the Challenger Circuit. They were running into a lot of problems, overextending, and in the chaos of Challenger Circuit, oftentimes fell a bit short of the mark. In LCQ, that has been very different. Timmy, Designful, and Enemy on paper are always players that are going to outplay, perhaps even 1v3 you. They've been doing that over the course of this weekend. So when it comes to finals, what can we expect? Well, based on Challenger Circuit, that's hard to tell. Based on what we've seen so far, they are going to individually be absolutely destroying everyone in the lobby. So keep your eyes on the Dojo.
When I was young, guys, I had a project as a kid. My dad had to help me build an actual dojo for, one of those presentations. And I remember it going quite well. I think that the dojo and I have had synergy. I've highlighted them early. Diaz highlighted them early. Mark, are you trying to look it up online? It was pre
dojo. Wait,
Mark, have you never seen the Karate Kid?
Yeah, but like a dojo is like a huge building, right?
Yeah, we constructed a building.
Okay, I thought this was ridiculous.
Oh, no. Miniature.
Okay.
A miniature. Should I have specified? We did.
Makes more sense now. Sure.
I didn't have enough money back then to lease a plot of land and build one on there. But at that point, I could go to Home Depot.
Work at a young age. So I could think he's got you on the digger. He's got you doing the brickwork. He's got you doing the plastering. I'm like, fair play.
Industriousness needs to be incentivized early. Plus, how do you think those dojos just appear in the world? You think someone's got to build them? Someone has to.
Wow, and I've learned that it's you. Yeah.
A business in dojo building for rain day is something.
Why?
Every day's a school day.
Dojo day.
In dojo
Building
day.
Supplies.
Okay, all jokes aside and great stories by Rain Day aside, I want to talk a little bit about these content creator, streamer first teams and players specifically transitioning into the ALGS, because a lot of times we see a pro transition into a content creator. They become a very big streamer. People want to watch them grind ranked. His Watson's a great example of that in some ways. But I also see like Timmy is so clearly with the dojo a content creator first and dipping his toes back into competitive because he's so good at the game. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that just in general, Dan? We've seen it work out in multiple ways, different times, but it feels like Timmy and Design and Enemy, they've got something going on here.
I mean, guys who have played in the Pro League before, so they know what they're doing. And then you add Timmy who, I mean, even if you're a content creator, you're still playing this game so much and putting so much time and effort and destroying pros in ranked. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, we see it sometimes where I think people have content creation first, but then they realize how good they are at the game, and they're like, oh, maybe I could just be a pro player as well. And even though it's a very difficult life to juggle, and I have so much respect for anyone who is able to do both content creation and anywhere near a pro player, there are just a few who do creep through and are able to do it work. And I wouldn't be surprised if Timmy is one of those and is able to do it today. And with how they've been performing, you mentioned it, 132 points they were able to get in one set of games. If they play like that today, we might see a team get onto match point in a few games. And we might see our first time ever going to 6 games when a team's already won this thing. That's how well they were playing yesterday. But have they burnt out? Have all that energy kind of been expelled in yesterday's matches? Or can they carry on with fine form?
I think it's a great point. And, Mark, I want to get your thoughts on this after we come out of our next piece here. But just to wrap up, Dan, my thing is, if you are a content creator, sometimes that's the life people try to get to in terms of, a lot of people, you don't have to work harder than you're working because that pro league is just an added thing on another full-time job you already have. It takes an internal motivation to take that on as well and try to compete at the highest level. So kudos to Timmy. Kudos to, you know, all of our content creators, pros, and how they intermingle in this community. It really, really makes this such a dynamic experience for watching our favorite players continue to go. So we'll continue to highlight those stories, but also right now I want to highlight another story that happened in game on Monday. That's right. Another Stories of the Outlands dropped from Apex Legends, one of the best at telling these narratives. So let's go ahead and take a look at Kill Code, their latest feature.
Is there any way to greet your Lord and Savior?
Mags! They let you out of jail.
Yeah, nah. She did.
Finally. My skin does not play nice with cheap fabrics.
Eduardo Silva's been snooping around here. Why?
Never seen him. I don't talk to Syndicate scum.
But we gonna take him down.
I meant you.
Skadge. Go away and you lot lose your manners. Shameful.
Things have changed, Max.
Oh, but I ain't changed, Skadge.
Eduardo's got you scared. Why?
Why? This'll show you why.
I don't like this place.
What did you want here?
What I want is to punch him in his dumb little glasses. Eduardo, come out, wherever you are. I only want a cordial.
There's more of these all over the Outlands. This is Big Maggie. Very big.
Who are you looking at?
Spectre defenses activated.
Time to go, ladies!
Wrecking ball clearing a path.
Loba! Loba!
Never underestimate a good accessory.
Come on now. How we gonna get out of here?
I'm hurt, AJ. You think I'd start a job without an escape route? Anyone call for a getaway driver?
Damn, Miss Selva.
Our only hope of knowing what Eduardo's doing is on this drive. Maybe.
Your egghead pal will figure it out. Get some shut-eye, eh?
Big Maggie. Very big.
It is interesting, guys. You know, we don't usually see a part 1 and a part 2. So I'm very, very curious after watching that, what they have in store for us in just about a week's time, 8 days to be exact, to end the month here in July. Boy, a lot of fun stuff happening. And Mark, you know, we did find out it's not Bernardo Silva, the famous footballer, but Eduardo Silva, Octane's dad, which could be helpful.
Keep my eyes on that. For a second there, I was like, wait, is this a crossover? I was like, it's not. It's not.
I wouldn't be surprised. Teams are LG Chivas. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready for the collaboration. Bring some Apex and some BPL. I'm all about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're very excited to get into it. The LCQ is here for North America. We will be deciding who goes through, and we will start it off with World's Edge. That will be our starting map, and we will rotate instead of every 3 in your traditional 6-game set. It will be every 2. So we will get a lot of looks at World's Edge in the first 6. Can these teams step up to the plate and find themselves going to Birmingham in September? We certainly will find out, and I have 2 great guys to take us through the action. So let's go ahead. Mark and Dan, take it away.
Let's get into it then. Match number 1 is live, everybody. Everybody's jumping out of the dropship already, and this is the beginning of what could be a long old evening of Apex Legends for everyone. 2 more spots stand to fill for the ALGS Championships. We need a match point winner, and we need someone who's putting up the most points as we drop into World's Edge.
Is it going to be like EMEA, where you just couldn't split the difference between so many of the squads, and it took us until match 6 to have anyone on match point? But as soon as it happened, the floodgates opened, and we had 6 squads move on to match point going into match number 8 when it was finally done and dusted. In North America, maybe it could be a bit different. We've seen some big massive kill point games. If we see anything like that coming into these finals, then we might see teams on match point a lot earlier than we did in EMEA. Now, speaking of EMEA, very similarly to what we saw over there, everyone has a drop spot, everyone has a home, and we don't have any contests. Instead, we've got everyone just playing it safe, playing it nice, and we'll make their rotation, because we're going to be heading up towards Climatizer, maybe a little bit of Epicenter.
Yeah, I get a feeling this is going to be a Climatizer zone for sure. Fury fans rejoice. The perfect zone for the perfect start to the day for them. They are a team who we certainly expect to be in that conversation when it comes to qualification, and they've still got some work to do ahead of them, of course, but starting off with a zone that pulls right towards you at Climatizer, which can be a difficult zone to get into for teams, and a ring console, smiles all around for Furia.
Yeah, I think they'll be delighted with this one. They'll get their information straight away. As long as their loot is good enough, then they can start to post up, get ready for all of the arrivals. Everyone's going to be making their way to try and find some of these positions, whether it's going to be the crates outside of Climatizer or trying to maybe take some of the area off of Furia. A good thing for Furia to do will just try and space themselves out a little bit, make themselves big, so that other teams are not able to just take any of their spots away from them. For the other squads and for our other big team, the Dojo are going to have to move all the way from Thermal. So if they are going to go on any sort of spree like they did yesterday, they might just destroy a lobby as they traverse the land. We'll have to see how they play.
I mean, for the Dojo, I think they don't care where zone goes. They'll just fight their way to it. The question is the quality of this lobby's team fighting good enough to slow them down? Or will they continue that momentum? By the way, if you didn't see the Dojo's performance yesterday, I implore you to go back and watch. It was quite something. Timmy was 1v3 in people. Time was playing some absolutely insane stuff. Enemy alongside him, really filling in the gaps beautifully. Aporia, speaking of filling in the gaps, are going to be filling in one of the positions here in Climatizer early on. They made a really quick rotate here in towards where they believe zone is going to be going. Although elsewhere as well, Riser, they're heading right to the northern side of this zone to try and rotate in as well. E8 already on their way towards Epicenter as well. So a lot of teams making that early rotate as you would expect. But the one team that isn't is the Dojo. They are looting the entirety of Thermal Station, probably just aware that it's the furthest away zone for them to get to, so they need to be looted suitably to fight their way in.
So Fury have got that information that there is going to be teams joining us, and I'm very curious as to whether they will try and make a statement here to force them out, or if they'll be more than happy to reside in their current location. Now, if it was me, probably the latter. I think you're in one of the best spots, Furia, and they can now just sit here comfortably and wait for the entire game to play out before they get involved. Unless, of course, the circle does pull away and shift just slightly away from Climatizer, they should be nice and comfy for the majority. Now, something we mentioned at the top of the show, but in case anyone is joining us as the games start, we have 9 Challenger Circuit teams competing here in the LCQ, which is a ridiculous amount for how successful they've been to get to this point, fighting their way through winners bracket, elimination bracket. It doesn't matter how they got here, they are here now, and I would love to see a Challenger team make it to the championships. Now, the Dojo, who dominated, are a Challenger team, so certainly is a good chance of it happening.
And now we're going to see EA already moving into the position which is just underneath where Furia found themselves a little bit early. You saw the rotating, you saw the outlines from the CQ, but they weren't able to do anything about it. The Dojo, though, it's only right that we jump on board with them. Now, after a masterful display, I think there was some talk yesterday about them being able to get 200 points or something at one point during the lobby. I mean, that's how dominant it was. That's a lot of points, just to kind of put it in context for everyone. I think they ended up with like 100 and a lot, but not exactly 100 and a lot, which is a technical term, but not quite the 200 that maybe they were set up for at one point. But it wasn't just the fact that they were killing everything, it was the fact that they were winning games consistently as well. I'm pretty sure they won at least 3 in a row yesterday in that elimination bracket final. So I mean excuse me, the winner's side. So I think it's going to be an interesting kind of journey for them to see if they can continue with that form today. Elsewhere on the map, though, everyone working their way in at the moment. Furia, we mentioned them, they're bang inside of zone. KSR, they're in zone. Dropping Gaming, they're there. Rise, also in there. Aporia, we mentioned. And also one team that I want to give a shout out to, by the way, with the greatest name that I think I've ever seen in Apex Legends, is Chadamus Prime V2.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Chadamus Prime V2. V1, not chatty enough.
Nope. And got to make sure you are close to as Optimus Prime as possible, as, here we go, Chadamus Prime on their journey, moving over to the eastern side of the map. By the way, it was 132 points that they were able to get, was the Dojo.
That's what I said.
36 of those were gathered just by Timmy killing people alone. That is more kills than any other team in the lobby, let alone the people as an accumulative. Like, Timmy was out killing entire teams of the entire lobby. That's how many kills he was able to get during the winners bracket. So if they do play like that, it's going to be a quick situation where people are getting to match point very fast. But of course, as these lobbies change and as they develop, suddenly rotations change, and maybe people are taking less risks and playing a little bit more zone heavy, and you might not be able to maybe prey on those who are being a little bit more exposed in their rotation. So we'll have to see with how Dojo play, but everyone has been making the move pretty quickly over towards Climatizer. No early fights to really speak of in the last few moments. Instead, everyone's more than happy to just keep their distance.
Yeah, Chadamus Prime just made a little bit of a decision there. You saw they were moving towards Overlook. I think they were looking to hit the ring console or maybe the survey beacon on their way towards the zone a little bit more, but they got pinged just as they approached it by someone else hitting it. So they decided, hey, let's just try and rotate past. Let's not get too excited about an early fight here. Let's try and walk our way in towards zone, maybe get ahead of them and then take that fight when we do a sim a little bit more. You can also see Native Gaming. They're set up in that building just outside of Climatizer at the moment, just kind of peeking in, looking to see if there's any positions they might be able to steal away or do damage to. Profit on our screens at the moment. He's got the 301. Double light combo at the moment for him, and it's always good to see a little bit of caustic. Mamba going to be rocking the caustic in this lobby, and composition's always a talking point, Dan. And in this lobby, I'm sure it's going to be no exception.
Yeah, there was a distinct lack of caustic in EMEA earlier, which meant the end games were a little less smelly, but maybe it's going to be a bit different now we get into North America, as we have a little dip over to Dojo again. It's just going to be eating the zone for now, but compositions are a tough one, especially when it's a new lobby. I mean, these guys would have played against each other throughout winners bracket, throughout elimination bracket, but of course this will be a new collection of 20 teams to try and work out who does what. And I always feel like game one is a real feeler where teams are trying to suss out what is going down and how everyone is going to be playing. And for the most part, we have what? 4, 5 teams, if you count Meat Lovers, outside of the first circle. Everyone else has made their way towards Climatizer, or at least the surrounding areas. This is a very zone-heavy lobby right now, and not really surprised, because we've seen that that's the most effective method at the moment in playing the game in the current meta.
Well, one team is having a little bit of a scrap. You can see at the northern side is going to be most hated Meat Lovers just outside of Survey Camp. Interested to see how that one goes. 8GAN maybe thinking about a third party as well, as you can see on your screens for just a second. Flat inside of zone, outside of the main buildings, but sometimes we do see the zones pull towards where they find themselves now, in that kind of compound. But it's a difficult one to hold down for the end game, Dan. But just because you have, yes, the fences around you, but there's so many grated areas that can be shot through from all angles. It's difficult to reset if you do take damage.
Well, Meat Lovers are taking damage of their own, but also outputting a lot of damage. They have 8 points to start with today, coming from winners bracket in 3rd place. They just need to be careful with their fight against Most Hated here, because they do have a couple of teams behind them. Ape Gang are very close, and if your team name is Ape Gang, you're probably going to be third partying when you get the opportunity. If you're not, then you are incorrectly named, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, hey, maybe it's reverse psychology. Maybe it's just getting in the head. You know what I mean? A little bit of a Marcus Rashford tap on the temple mentality game being played here, but Most Hated now working their way to the north side of zone. That was the team who was kind of poking and prodding at Meat Lovers, and it seems like both teams have decided this early fight is not worth the complete commitment for. Most Hated going to rotate past and try and approach from the northern side. Inside of a survey camp, this is where we find Meat Lovers at the moment. And the new addition, Jayon, going to be on your screens right now. Another controller fragger, going to be picking up some... well, he would be hoping, excuse me, he'll be able to pick up a few kills for his squad alongside Luxford. But at the moment, a pretty calm start to this, Dan. Only one player been eliminated so far, let alone a team. Everyone has found somewhere to play. And this sets us up quite nicely for what is going to be I would say a very interesting Zone 3 onwards.
Yeah, it's a calm before the storm. A climatizer zone is very easy to predict, so a lot of people have been able to move early and get into some good spots, but the teams that arrived a little bit later have only been able to get into surrounding areas, so as the circle closes, they will eventually be forced together. And to be honest, I think because there are still 20 squads and because there are teams in the area to third party, no one's really wanted to force any fight, and they've backed away from them. Even if they've got a knock, they're like, well, we probably shouldn't be pushing this because we're just going to be wiped. We've only had one player taken out of the game so far. 59 are still alive. But now, as round 2 closes, it will potentially force a fight here at Overlook. We've got Stallions and Chadamus Prime, who are certainly close enough to fight. Yep, every time I say it, it makes me giggle as well.
It's Stallions versus Chadamus Prime. It sounds like one of those straight-to-DVD films that came out in the early 2000s. But for now, Noxious, they're going to have to try and escape as they are taking considerable damage. The Dark Veil is going to provide them with the appropriate cover so that they can stay alive here. But now you're starting to see where things get difficult. Native Gaming, though, they're taking a little bit of damage themselves. They've lost the Caustic, although Mamba will be able to get back up. The reset ability, of course, of playing Caustic makes it so difficult to push these buildings, but same position, right? One player eliminated from the lobby at the moment. Native Gaming did get that kill, but 20 squads still alive. 2 minutes 10 left on zone number 3. Stallions, yeah, Chadamus Prime, DNO, and Meat Lovers outside of the zone currently. And the dojo, they're in Skyhook.
Just this lobby is ridiculous for names. The 2 teams that win this, by the way, I hope they do get picked up by an organization, so I don't have to say Stallions versus Meat Lovers versus Dojo, but I tell you what, it puts a smile on my face. By the way, Dojo are in Skyhook still, so they are having the longest rotation. They wanted to get Ring Console and get as much info as possible, but they are not going to be arriving and fighting anytime soon. Meat Lovers also made their journey down towards the southern side of Fragment, so they're looking to do something similar, looking to just try and survive the red and get info a little bit later on. But Dojo's journey, that will carry on, but it's going to be quite some time until they see other teams. As Meat Lovers, they're more likely to take a fight sooner rather than later. They'll be approaching the likes of Stallions and Chadamus Prime.
Yeah, interesting to see this rotate actually from Meat Lovers and the decision they made. They've wrapped all the way from survey camp to the position they find themselves just kind of on the peak of epicenter at the moment, this big ridge that a lot of teams hold down for some of those fragment zones. But Meat Lovers instead, maybe they're looking to mirror someone here. Maybe they're spotting out a few positions and to try and third party and kind of sneak their way into zone. But for now, purple armor's all around. And you can see the ult excel's being popped by the Valkyrie as well. So maybe they're thinking of a skyward dive here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a interesting attempt. I mean, where do you go? We've already seen how congested Climatizer is at the moment, but I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's going up into the sky. The kill feed is starting to light up a little bit. Everyone getting a little bit antsy as some of the squads are arriving late and taking a few fights in these buildings as Team Stability have lost one. Keon just able to stay alive and will be able to bat alongside Shubi here.
And of course, Keon recently found himself looking for a team after fell out of the favor of Sentinels. Now found himself on Team Stability.
Hiya.
Shots coming in. It's Yair inside the building, but it's oh no, 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 as they will be taken down. Team stability will fall as well. And it seems like everybody wanted a piece of that building. It's Stallions who come out on top. And they will control it for now. Secret Formula, another great team name. Going to be trying to look for a third-party opportunity, but not going to present itself. Only playing as a duo. It had to be a perfect opportunity, and they decided to play it safe instead.
So a couple of teams getting a little bit restless and maybe trying to force buildings off of one another because they know the circle is going to now be moving away from them, and they're taking a fight when the opportunity is presented to them, as round 3 will close in the next 25. So that means we'll see the arrivals of Dojo. Meat Lovers have found a position in Climatizer, by the way. They've got inside this building. Very impressive from that skyward dive that they've been able to call anywhere home. Sometimes brute force does just work, and it's about taking that risk. And again, why Valkyrie is still very important in certain compositions to offer the ability to do this.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those legends though, I feel like all of a sudden, the less that she's played, the more valuable she becomes. If nobody, especially towards the end game, right? Because a lot of teams are using evac towers on early rotates to get into positions to get ahead of the traffic, and you can't rely on it towards the end game because you don't have one in the inventory. But of course, ultimate ability of Valkyrie, able to get that skyward dive back. You can use it multiple times in one game to thread the needle towards that end game and really catch teams off guard. But speaking of catching some people off guard at the moment, you see Native have got some neighbors right now. And it's going to be Chadamus Prime V2 making the play.
Yeah, the Chad bots looking to try and do some damage because all 3 of these teams that are in this area have to move. They can't stay here and reside for much longer. In 1 minute, they're going to be forced into engagement.
Oh my goodness.
And you can see Chadamus want to really press this fight, but they keep getting forced back every single time, and now they're losing members.
Yeah, it's going to be Lou moving up on them as well. He's going to get one knock, but this is the problem, right? You arrive late to a zone that's congested. All of the fire comes out towards you. Every single team is looking to pick up KP on teams rotating in. And it's DNO, certainly a fan favorite in my eyes. Duplex, Xenox, and Lou get the clean wipe. And unfortunately for Chadamus Prime V2, which I'm going to say in full every single time for people at home and slightly to annoy Dan, it's going to be the end of the lobby for them.
We're getting back on our screens. DNO, another team we haven't really spoken about much, but definitely a squad who could really do some damage in this lobby as the Dojo are starting to get rolling now. They're getting involved in fights. They arrived on this northwest side, and they are slowly but surely inching their way in closer to the circle. They're under a little bit of pressure, a little bit of stress, but the shots are being hit as one goes down.
Team now left in a really sticky looking position. Not only because of the piercing spikes, but because of the damage that's been done here. Designfall is all up to you. The Dojo find this lobby a little bit tougher than it was yesterday as they will fall. 14 squads now remaining as Rise will be able to get the reset as well.
The Dojo cannot wax on nor wax off. Instead, they have to go into game number 2 to try and find some points, as Most Hated is still one player alive, and he's still doing a little bit of damage on his own. Secret Formula also have gone down. Most Hated get eliminated. 12 squads now remain as everyone is being just slowly pushed into one another here. And there's not much room to play.
There's barely any room to play here for sure. The zone is starting to close behind them. And Rise are going to have to jump over this fence and hope that they can find somewhere to play. That doesn't look like the most comfortable place in the world. And it turns out that it isn't. They are eliminated. But the teams who are still alive here, Fury are one of them, Dan, involved in this endgame. Meat Lovers eliminated in the meantime. Fury, though, have lost Pandas for a second, but the Gold Res will be good enough to get them back to a 3 and get them healthy.
Gold Res is massive here, and this is the building that they've been holding throughout the entirety of this game. They are going to have to move away from it as it goes northeast yet again, but they can just push out slowly from the building if they would like. Trouble is, you can get focused fired when you are in a situation like this and you're arriving from one of those buildings. It's where you have to pick your moment perfectly. You have to kind of listen, wait for those gunshots, and maybe use a distraction, get that Dark Veil down, because Zeratricky will be able to do so. As look at that zone. Drop-in Gaming, I mean, you've got to say, they're in one of the better spots. They have a building, but grenades can make it very difficult for them. Stallions, however, who are going to be holding the far northeast. Now, as long as they've got enough objects to hide behind, enough scenery to play with, they could be in a good chance to win in this game as well.
And you can see that one of the players has certainly got a great position to play. He's right behind the big pylon that comes out. So they've got a real good command of zone with everybody having to leave from the south and move towards their position. They should be able to not only survive, but also pick up a few KP on their way towards that end game. Noxious, though, they've got a much tougher rotation. The Dark Veil going to be called in to try and block off this bridge line of sight, and they're going to be forced to fight here. They have to go through the lobby if they want to be involved in the end game.
Yeah, going through the gauntlet now. It's going to be team after team if you want to be able to get there, even with an EMP available just to try and distract some of these teams. Is it going to be able to do enough to help them win the engagements? There's the EMP. You've got to send it off of this because the round 5 closure is happening, and it is going to be very quickly on your backside.
No scope. Oh, no connection this time. Hambino taking damage on his way down as well. Going to pop a cell with the gold armor. We'll get him back to an extra 50 HP at least, but he's lost his 2 teammates. Poria inside that building on the other side did the damage. They still have 2 alive. Akimbo is down, and it looks like they're going to have to leave him behind.
Aporia, another one of our Challenger Circuit teams. They've made a couple of changes coming into the LCQ, but it seems to have worked out so far. But maybe this is the end of the road for them in this game. Yes, it will be. They finish in 9th. Noxious finish in 8th. 7 squads remain, but it's Furia again in the kill feed.
Furia now. Albrelli with a Peacekeeper doing some big damage. The spray is pretty good as well, but there's a nade which completely eliminates Furia. 5 squads now remaining, but a decent start for Furia as KSR find that Kraber down on the low ground. The question is, can they get up high? Can they hit the Valkyrie? Do they have it available? Or are they just going to try and show as little presence as possible to try and sneak up behind a team towards the end of this game? Stallion's still in that great position you were talking about earlier, Dan, overlooking the rest of the lobby.
DNO still alive. A real threat to this lobby with such impressive players on this roster. Players who have been at the very top of the Apex Legends scene and would love to return there and be at championships. And they are names who certainly are worthy of doing so as they now get aggressive and Ape Gang gets eliminated. But is there going to be anyone to pick the pieces up? No, DNO survive, and that was a very important push just to try and take a little bit of space here.
I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? The team, you know, DNO, you've got Xenox, Lou, and Duplex, all players who have been some of the standouts, but for whatever reason, fallen off of, you know, the rosters that they've had put together for various different reasons, but now they all find themselves together trying to pull off something in this last chance qualifier. Speaking of pulling something off, I mean, Trev Stacks at the moment, he's, yeah, good idea to turn away from that one because it didn't look too good for him. KSR eliminated. We'll pretend that didn't happen, but DNO's still alive here as we're into our top 3.
And now Stallion's had a good position, but as they move into this circle, it really depends if they can get onto a rock. But I think because of where the other 2 teams are, Stallions still hold the best position because the other 2 squads are going to have to fight against one another and be forced into an engagement here at this RB.
Well, Xenox has got to pop a barrier at some point, you would imagine. Instead, he decides that the death is fine. Lou is going to be the last player alive for them. Duplex is still trying to do what he can as well. Excuse me, Duplex was still alive, but now this is just the trigger here, Dan, for Stallions to move in and try and pick up the pieces.
Yeah, Stallions get into a position to try and get some angles here, but the knocks still haven't come through, so Stallions have to be careful. They are in the best position to win the game for sure, but they just have to have a little bit of patience before they get involved.
DNO are eliminated. Stallions up on height. The IG are going to have to leave this building in a few seconds' time. The trailer is not going to be comfy enough. It's not going to be good. Stallions will be your champions of game number 1. Acclimatize a finish. The game finished just as coolly as the surrounding landscapes, Dan.
Yeah, I think that Stallions, as soon as they got into that position on the northeast, it was just a matter of time, but they had to play it in a way where they hoped no one would just kind of bomb towards them and try and take that position off them. So they were generating enough space, they were putting enough pressure off squads to be able to hold that northeast side. But in the end, I mean, as soon as they saw DNO push towards drop-in gaming at the RV, I think they knew they had won the game. They were just patiently waiting, got some height, got above things, and yeah, it was as simple as that, really.
Well, Stallions get that winning game number 1. And speaking of Stallions...
Oh, wow.
Time for us to bring Rain Day back in. Oh, I'm proud of that one. I'm so proud of myself.
Wow. You know what? Take a break for that one, Mark. You get to rest. I mean, maybe even half the day. I don't know. We'll talk about it with the producer. Great stuff, guys, on the call. Stallions, they take the win in game number 1. And I'm going to bring back I guess for the first time, our redheaded goddess, as I heard her described on Twitch and Twitter at certain points. Vicky, maybe not self-proclaimed, but people proclaim you that. Welcome to the show for the first time today in the NALCQ portion, and happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I mean, what a way to be introduced by someone who was also introduced as a Stallion, considering the fact that we have very interesting names in this lobby, by the way. The script writes itself. And of course, as Mark and Dan were highlighting them, they are the first winners in this lobby. But can we highlight the fact that Fun went absolutely crazy there in that final game, lighting up the feed all the way through, despite him just not only just shooting everybody, but also with his arc star tosses.
As we jump into it with this portion of analysis brought to you by PlayStation Tournaments, I'm excited to look back at that final circle as well, because, you know, DNO had a decent spot, but in terms of this finish, you're right. It was Stallions who galloped their way into pole position. Vicky, walk us through what happened.
Well, we got to see Stallions hold his position for a very long time, and with this circle pulling out into these trucks here, I was looking at this from the very beginning. It could be tricky to traverse through this open ground when people have been camping that climatizer building, but with the circle closing in already at this point, Stallions waited to utilize the exhibit at a great time here. You can see the arc stars lighting up the feed, Xenox being victim to that, but waiting outside some of this fights while DNO was playing at a disadvantage was the best thing that Stallion could do. They're just going to wait for these teams to just funnel outside of the only cover that they have, and it was just essentially just free pickings here for Stallions. Even with the barrage coming in, they were just going to wait for the rest of the team to either die to the ring or die at their hands.
And this is great. I love this movement right here because it's just unfightable right now. If you want to get a shield battery, you're not exposed. If you do pop out, you're going to be a little bit late. And right there, they try to wait, maybe say the ring is our biggest enemy. No, it certainly wasn't. It was fun, and Stallions and the rest of the crew. By the way, just got to say, we got a little fire and ice thing going on right now, Vicky. I will say, though, that as much as I have the ice going on, it's hot. It's hot. My AC is broken, and it's nearly 100 degrees where we're at. So if you see me schwitzing, I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'm trying to get it under control. I will say, though, moving into this kind of look at the LCQ with North America, there's a lot of teams who have opportunities to perform. And you even mentioned some of the history that was here. Xenox, Lou, Dupe, players who have had I wouldn't say traditional journeyman kind of processes throughout Apex. They've been on established teams and just found a way together. I'm really excited about them. And looking at this top 10, Vicky, who stands out to you that's kind of piqued your interest right now after watching at least one game?
Well, I have to give credit to DNO after watching their performance throughout this weekend, listening to the confidence and the confident calls made by Dupe. I feel like this team really has this cohesive strat together, and I want to see this continue on because this is a very mentality-based team. Considering how they do at first is how they're going to ride that momentum. Furia obviously being on that first page too. Meat Lovers all the way at the bottom. Again, it is just the first match. We do have some starting teams with starting points here, but some of those teams are going to be on that second page rain day.
Yeah, and let's take a look at them because you're right. We had some big names there. Native Gaming comes to mind. Rise with 4 points there. Team Stability grabbing a nice 3, and the Dojo grabbing 3. That was probably the biggest story I had coming into this. And now questions arising after 1. Maybe just a bad pull, a bad start. We've seen that happen. After 2, though, if it remains the same way, they're going to have to start making some fixes. 130-something points, I believe, in their games yesterday. Not the way that they probably wanted to start, but hey, they've already got 10 points, so they'll be 13. As we look at our series results after 1, as we bring them up on screen when they're ready, I might have called for that just a little bit too early, but I have a feeling that after we look at it, there you go. They'll shake somewhere in the top 5, but Stallions, my goodness, Vicky, off to the races for sure. 30 points, one more big game like that, and they could be on match point after 2.
Absolutely, that's definitely one way to build up that gap between yourself and the rest of this lobby here. But we have seen these big games happen before, especially with the talent in this lobby alone. Also love how you pinpointed the drop spot of Dojo having to traverse through Thermal Station, all the way taking a journey to Climatizer on the opposite side of the map. Same thing, though, can be said about Stallion that does land in Big Mod, but it's within that same eastern side here. So this is going to benefit while we go into World's Edge for game number 2.
We also saw kind of that conversation happen when it was Cascades going on to Lightning Rod for Go Next. And they ended up kind of traversing that journey, getting to the highest point in Lightning Rod and having the best spot. So it's not impossible. It definitely is just something to consider, especially if you're watching behind at home and wondering why your team isn't performing, Vicky. We try to mention it on broadcast enough, but so much of the early game and where that zone pulls, is really a big part of the story of these teams, and it could create a very uphill battle for some favorites who, if given plain normal circumstances to perform, would probably be in that final three. So you got to give credit to Dojo for doing the best they can. They get 3 points. We'll see what happens after 2. Going into it, though, Vicky, any final thoughts before we head into that second game about what you're expecting, what you're seeing here with only our first game played in our NALCQ?
Well, we're already seeing teams getting punished for not being able to have access to information to where that next circle is going to be pooling. Maybe trying to predict where the circle is going to be pooling, like we saw early on from Native, trying to secure that building over to the side of Climatizer for it to pull away, and then for them to get aped when there's a crypto in the lobby and they're running Caustic. With this happening, though, some of these teams have to make those adjustments in either not putting themselves in a hard gamble position where they really want to bank on that final circle positioning, if they don't have that information, or if they do want to play it a lot more passively by the edge, although we have been seeing a lot more of these edge teams getting punished. I'm excited to see how this is going to plan out now, especially since Stallions has put themselves already in the lead.
We'll see. 30 points for Stallions. They are way out in front. Can anyone catch them? We'll find out after the break. Monster Energy, the official energy drink of the Apex Legends Global Series. WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Well, we are back then with match number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and we are getting straight into the action. Of course, Stallions took the victory in that matchup. Now they have 30 points. Gaskin here alongside Vicky Kitty for this match number 2. Vicky, you were watching from the wings, and we got your fantastic analysis, of course, from that match number 1. Do you reckon Stallions can go back-to-back and take us to match point after 2 games?
Now, where the circle is going to be pooling, though, it is going to be just a slight shift over where they had rotated to before. Seeing the fact that they get stacks in Big Mod, though, you already know that they are going to be kitted up. They're also going to have the survey beacon figure out, once they decide where they want to move, where these teams are and who has already quickly rotated here. I had to steal you away from Mark real quick, too. You guys were having way too much fun commentating Meat Lovers and Stallions here, so I just have to make my way over to see what the action's all about.
Yeah, and that's good. Probably separating us so we can have a chance to breathe and not make silly jokes about the team names, because I tell you what, Stallions look like the real deal with how they were performing. And I like that you did point out it was a difficult rotation for some of our teams that have been succeeding in the winners bracket. I mean, the Dojo had to go a long way, and it's not really going to be much better for them in this game. They're going to have to move up to survey camp from thermal station, so maybe they'll go for a different approach. They went for a late rotation previously, avoided all of the conflict. Maybe we'll see them try and go for a little bit more of a boisterous approach and actually bullying their way through some rotations and taking some earlier fights. As for Furia, they had a climatizer zone last time, so they were able to just sit pretty and wait. This time they're going to have to move a little bit further west, but they are moving early again.
It's not too far away. They can hold this high ground here on the north side by the train tracks if they please, as well as getting some extra loot around survey, and then potentially even getting involved in a third party that we could see right over to the side of Furia. But they do have to be careful, because with this circle pooling in this direction and Rise getting ahead of the game, this means that this is going to be welcoming not just the third and fourth parties, but an open circle where you're only really going to have the landmass to cover and get out of the other line of sight from other teams.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of teams that are trying to force their way into some of these areas, and I think that if you are arriving by evac tower or even by a skyward dive, as soon as you see in the sky that certain areas are not playable, you need to be thinking about a plan B. What is a secondary area where you might be able to take for now and then start to push up a little bit later? There's a little bit of conflict happening at the moment at Monument as teams are starting to try and find a few positions. The likes of Noxious are there, and we see Aporia also potentially getting some damage being taken, but I think all of these teams should back off enough. No, maybe we might see an actual engagement. Native are trying to force this one. A few nades going their way.
Gotta take this fight inside this building here. Trying to get the full screen too with so many other teams making this rotation in. The exhibit has been called in. Getting in the information that they need just based off the footsteps right above them. But having to take this fight, you have to be wary of the squads that could be around you here, especially Monument. Taking a nice cheeky angle, though, and approaching this fight. They toss up the nades, gotta delete the spikes.
Noxious get eliminated as Native Gaming is still pressing up to try and finish off some of the damage they've been able to put down, but you have to back off and make sure that you can at least shield up, because you are in a good spot in Monument. You're within the next circle, so you don't have to worry too much about forcing these engagements, as Aporia will just slightly retreat away from that one, but also the fact that Noxious got taken down means that we are going to see a little bit more room to play with in Monument. But as you can see, they've got the ring console information, so they know they can reside here for quite some time. But if they know their zones, if they know their circles, they probably think this is going to be pulling up towards Survey Camp.
And also maybe thinking here that they're going on for a late rotate with the composition that they are currently running. They want to be more bunkered down inside of these buildings that we could already expect to have been taken up over in Survey Camp at this time with the first ring already closing. Looking to try to take some of these kills already, though. Blink's going to be able to find somebody out in the distance, gets the knock onto Nano here. Now this is the green light for Aporia to hold forward.
Yeah, they are going to full send as far as they can because they want to keep going north. They want to keep going towards the area of Survey Camp and maybe hope they can find a little bit of a home a little bit closer towards the camp rather than being forced into all of the mess that is currently happening at Monument. They are being pressured from a couple of other squads, though, who are already on the northern rocks. They just need to be a little bit careful. A lot of this damage they're taking seems to be a bit unnecessary, but they can't really get involved in the fight they want to take, as now Native were able to get a knock on the other side, and Aporia suddenly have to retreat because it was Flat who got involved and wanted to make sure they could third party.
Oh, was the risk worth it? You do have a Loba, you have a support character that you could get at least the banners if you could manage to find a crafter that hasn't been used by another team or already in use. Flat now getting third-partied by the squad that was taking a look at the fight from afar. I believe, yeah, this is gonna be Gotta love it out here. McLovin now coming in, getting fried. Needs help. Miles coming in from the side. He's got the Nemesis. He's got the gold extended energy mag, but he doesn't have his 6 covered. Fortunately here, not taking a look at what was happening on the other side. The catwall is up. This could give him some extra cover to re-stabilize. But out in the middle of the streets of Monument, are you kidding me?
I mean, if they're going to have silly names, I get to call them as silly as I like, right? That's how it works as a commentator, but it looks like maybe they might go down. Maybe Daniel, being me, might call. Maybe Daniel going down as Flat look to try and get involved and get the final kill. This should be it, and there it is. Yeah! Go down in 19th position as Flat will be able to continue their run of just third-partying in the moment and picking up a good amount of kills. So Monument seems to be the place to be, or the place to avoid if you don't want to be getting taken down at the moment, as a little bit more ruckus happening in the early stages, whereas last game it was a little bit more quieter this time.
Listen, Dan McLovin, this is always the place to be when you want to find the beef. And Chatham is Prime want to keep their name on the board. Now getting involved. 18 squads still left here, and there's 3 squads alone in this northwestern side of Monument. Not trying to overextend at the same time, and looking at the weapon loadout that they're working with definitely makes sense here. He's got the charge rifle in hand, he's got the car on the other here. Chatham Prime looking to try to get aggressive. In comparison to what we also saw in that last game here, here comes the shots from the R301, predicting the trajectory of when they're going to get pulled into the black hole. Love the knock that we get to see now. 18 squads trying to maybe see if they can already not only prioritize that next circle here, as Chatham Prime are going to be playing more so by the edge.
Yeah, impressed with how they were navigating that one, as Dojo also got aggressive onto E8 and will get the kills, and this is an isolated fight, so Dojo will be fine. They win this one over towards Harvester. Still a long old journey, but I think this is what's important. If you are a team who is on the outer zone, if you are in one of these edge POIs and you have to go across the entire map, I think sometimes forcing your way through the middle and finding other late rotators to take a fight with, especially when you are a confident fighting team, is the way to just slowly but surely pick up points. And you'll probably have one of your big point games later when the circle is maybe a little bit more kind to you.
Similar playstyle to what we see from Stallions too. Another team that likes to take their time and play by that edge here. Dojo going to take their time to rotate in. Chatham is Prime, still inside Monument, waiting as Native have made their appearance on the other side. They are playing on the edge of the circle, which means in this trajectory, if you could see outside, Dojo will be rotating within this direction. Stallions would be rotating into the northeastern side. So many of the teams, though, knowing where the circle is going to be pulling towards Survey, have already taken up the buildings. Rise being one of them here. You can see the shots on the other side of the rock. But I'm mostly thinking about the teams like Most Hated that have been on those rocks from the very beginning. They do get the knock, but nobody's going to try to overextend here. They'd just be griefing their own spot if they do, as Meat Lovers are holding onto this ground.
If I had a penny for every time I opened the door when I tried to get a res, I would be a very rich man, that's for sure. It always happens to me, and it's good to know it happens to the pros as well, but they are able to get back on their feet, as are Meat Lovers. They managed to force their way into this building here, but one of the positions I am interested in is where Most Hated hold. They're on the far northern tip of Survey Camp, and I've seen a lot of teams historically win from said position when you've got the head glitch to work with, and the train tracks as well that you push down from. So we'll have to see where this zone goes, but at the moment, everyone who has early rotated has at least been able to find a position to call home. I think the difficulty is going to be for those who have to arrive late here. I know that is a tale as old as time, but it's to be expected, I think, when, again, you get another predictable zone like this, which it was obviously going to be Climatizer in game number 1, and I think everyone knew it was going to be Survey Camp here in game number 2.
Especially seeing how quickly some of these squads rotated. You also saw them swap over to get the gold helmet so that way they could get the EMP charge a lot quicker. Even nice to know that there are 3 cryptos in the lobby at the moment, but there's only 1 Watson and 1 Caustic. Going on to World's Edge here, you sometimes do see that Caustic more usually. Now we get to see the Loba, Rampart, and Valkyrie composition. Valkyrie, who has kind of shifted away from the meta in general with the introduction of evac towers, making things a lot more flexible in terms of the compositions that we've been exposed to. But KSR are playing bunker down here. We saw them, unfortunately, in Shambles Town when they couldn't climb over the location that they were in before the ring closed in, so the ring was going to claim their names instead. And they do know that there is a team on the other side here, the Seer, that already has information of all the members of KSR.
I loved that, by the way, because Riley was on the Valks and was able to just jet up into the sky. Of course, Cap had the Loba, was able to use the bracelet, and then we just saw Trev just trying to scale the wall as the Rampart and fall to the demise. It was really tough to watch, and they all went down in the end anyway, as now Stallions are making their move to the northeast that you were talking about, and it's going to be Furia they're going up against here, as Furia usually drop at Climatizer, so they were able to hold this position early. Dark Veil goes down for protection, but Stallions looking to get aggressive and looking to try and add to this 50 points total.
Oh, he's already pinging them, letting them know that he's literally won. The only one that's probably alive and fully healed up is right there behind them, but he's got some backup here from Slayer. Gets the last one, and that is Furia. Eliminated and out of this lobby in 16th. Stallions now looking to restabilize.
Yeah, they have to get up quick because DNO are like sharks in the water waiting to try and pounce, and it looks like they have got here quick enough to do the damage. So Stallions are not going to be able to get back up to a full 3. Can they escape, though, is the real question, as DNO looking to try and press up, but they're also taking damage from another squad. So DNO might have to just let Stallions get away. I'm going to be interested to see whether Lou decides to get aggressive, but they might just be able to claim this loot and say, all right, Stallions, you can go on your way. We don't need to try and finish up the pieces here.
Lou, a man with taste, by the way. That weapon loadout, he's got the Nemesis and the Prowler, just like we're seeing right here from Stallions. They are locked in. Welcome to the Burst meta. I will introduce you every single time because that is what we have here. The Nemesis is doing so much damage. Now with Fun going down and without them being able to retrieve that banner, looks like they're cutting their losses with this rotate now, going around south side of Epi, where there are no more teams there. They can approach that black market that we did see earlier from that squad that was bunkered down, but they don't have the information on where this circle is going to be pulling, and it will be pulling much more towards the west side, southwest side rather, of where this circle is currently. See so many of these teams now making their appearance, as Keon has a high ground advantage over Native right now that are rotating through the low ground. Yeah, the circle is pulling heavily away from Survey Camp. This is going to be bad news for
The majority of the squads in this game, everyone was banking on Survey, everyone had those buildings. There are a few squads, though, who kind of had to deal with the surrounding areas, who are on the kind of train tracks and in the train tunnel that are going to benefit from this pull. Another team that's going to benefit from this pull is Dojo. They're arriving late, but they're actually going to get into one of the best positions if they win this fight. And at the moment, they're under a little bit of stress, a little bit of damage they've taken, but they have been able to find a place to call home.
Designful's got all the tools to work with here, though. Looking at his loadout, getting away from the mother load here, too. Slow, though, all at the same time. Creeping Barrage, smelling itself doomed, but he manages to dance away, shimmy-shading his way over to cover. Black Hole at the ready, and they're going to take their time to rotate into this, too. So many teams already making their appearance within this area. Dojo having to fight for their life by the train tracks. Here comes the Black Hole here from Designful. Playing patiently here. Timmy needs some help. He's got the Digitrap, but he doesn't see anybody in it here. From a distance, he sees a knocked player. Takes some of those shots, has to reposition immediately afterwards. It's the reset, but this fight is taking quite some time. And on the outskirts of this fight, Ape Gang has been inside that tunnel this entire time since they saw the circle, pulling to Survey in case they can go for a 50-50 rotation.
Well, this could be the shortest listening we've ever gone into, but let's see what the comms are like with the Dojo as they push into this fight.
The team of quads, the team of quads from the west.
Just play safe here. Play safe here. Play safe here. Play this pocket.
We have down, by the way. Look it down. Look it down. Look it down. Look it down. Look how it is.
You're chilling. Just keep them in there. Do not overextend on them.
Okay, and we have to watch our back.
I have no bats. That rock right there so I can watch our back, please.
I have no bats. I have like hip. We don't know. Yeah, we don't hold this and walk up.
Yes, we're fine.
And then we're gonna murder them with Horizon later. Okay?
Popping ult excel to get Horizon back. Yes, no nades.
Oh, no nades. Can I play up here? Yes. Oh my god, great spot. Wait, we're actually. Do you want to play up here instead? On down close? Me? I have Digi. I'm talking about in general. Oh no, this is horrible. No. We played. No, because our back.
Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, we could still bully them. I mean, 13 squads. I'm not seeing anybody.
Scan as well.
I'm on height. They're the only team in this tunnel right now.
All right, I'm gonna keep watching our back.
That's syringes.
I'm gonna guide everyone away from us.
Do you have syringes, son? No, syringes.
I have one syringe.
You should give it to enemy so he can just be full. Yeah, I don't want to pop and make it. It's fine. You can give it to me later. We should really pressure this team too. I mean, the only
we don't want to yet because this team will wrap us. This icicle team will wrap us.
By the way, where I'm sitting at is like barely.
Later we can.
And the team also far too. Wait, I'm gonna sit up here by the way. I'm not close. I mean, you might get shot from behind or from. The only spot they shoot me is here. Oh really? Yeah, I mean, you can come check it out yourself if you want, but I mean, I think it's too late. Evacuating from climber. I'm climbing. They're gonna probably come for this rock, by the way. Get ready to come. Get ready. Never mind, it is way too far. They cannot make it. They can't make it. Never mind. How did? I'm up. This team is still. Oh, okay. Well, there's a team at Northwest Rock.
They can't wall the cross down there.
This team right here. Where are we playing?
Yep.
I thought we were just playing up here.
Yes, we're playing there. We're chilling. 90 on there, Seer. I'm coming back to you. Are we not safe up there?
No, I am, but I mean, this.
And then.
Yeah, I have angles. 57-1.
I'm good.
Done.
We have a good spread here.
Yeah. They're getting farmed. We need to pressure this team. Right here.
Knocked one deep.
Oh wait, yeah, I see.
Very deep.
Zone's not for us.
Well, that listening presented by WD Black, and I thought it might be a short one. I thought Dojo were going to get involved in the fight, but they patiently wait. They watch everyone move in, and now suddenly we're down to 9 squads as that circle has deleted the chances of so many of these teams, Vicky, because they were all forced in away from survey camp.
And they were fighting this while BIL was right next to them the whole time. So holding on to that rock while looking at the fighting happening right over in Survey. They want to get in on the action. Designful already sending out the black hole, tossing out the nades too. Trying to get involved. Oh, everybody gets caught in the shish kebab that Designful has created for the team to profit. I like this call. Disengaging. They see that the opportunity has now left the table. So now Dojo are just going to be able to just rotate through the back end again. They already know the area that they just rotated from has been cleared. They hear the fighting on the other side of the train tracks. And this time, they can get involved in this fight from a high ground.
Well, Xenox has just gone down from DNO. Lou's also been able to get a knock, though, for them. So that's going to be an interesting engagement that's happening. Meat Lovers are still just about alive. And BIL, they'll lose one, but might be able to respond with some retaliation here if they want to get aggressive. But they know they're in an all right spot. It's Ape Gang who are inside the tunnel that are being a real nuisance as DNO do get eliminated. 5 squads now remain. Dojo are on that far southeast side, hold a good position. Secret Formula also holding a good spot right now, too.
Senpai's also just going crazy with the Kraber in the feed, by the way. He has been able to find 2. BIL now been fighting for his life. Gets taken out, but his teammates are right there to help back him up. The L-Star, the Meatball Slinger here to do all the damage that they need. Gold knockdown, he can't go forward with it. Getting attacked from the other side here. Ape Gang gets deleted from inside of those train tracks. That's Meat Lovers, by the way, on the other side of BIL. Luxford was trying to capitalize as a solo.
Yeah, just Luxford doing wonders for Meat Lovers at the moment, into the top 4 and trying to make it top 3. But I think he realized that maybe those players would have had a chance to reset now. So instead makes his way into zone to try and rat out to top 3 and get a couple more placement points. Dojo still holding this southern side. Dark Veil will now go down just to cut off the vision from BIL who are above them. If Dojo get wind that is just 2 players, they might try and push up on this, but they need to be worried about Secret Formula who are holding that northeast side.
I'm wondering if that Catwall was just a little too early, perhaps. Yes, they're blocking the vision off to their left, but you mentioned it. Secret Formula is off to the right. So is that solo from Meat Lovers here. Comes the Creeping Barrage as well. All the information that they can work with, too. 4 squads left. They lose out on Design, though. He gets isolated out of position. There's a squad that I was worried about that's now going to come right in front of them. That's going to be Secret Formula on the other side of this fight.
Yeah, Secret Formula doing damage, Designful going down, but the res could potentially happen. Second guesses himself because the nade as Secret Formula will push up, as now Secret Formula holds central zone here and have a fantastic chance with a Kraber in the back pocket. Only 1 bullet left to maybe try and do some real damage as the grenades now starting to tick onto the Dojo.
Oh, they finish up Design. Can we get another one from Oi? They know it's a rat. They know it's a rat on the other side here. Just gotta hold on to it. The suspense while they play off the back end, but Secret Formula, they are in the best position right now in this lobby. Natural cover from the rocks. They have the black market behind them in case they want to swap off the Kraber after they use that last bullet, but they are locked in right now with the cat wall. They block out the vision and they're gonna try to fully send it.
Well, can the Dojo do anything as a 2 here? Secret Formula will send it on to the remaining player, and actually they've taken quite a lot of damage there. Is the Dojo in any position to try and take this fight? Do they know it's a 2 that they're going up against? Still 1 bullet left with the Kraber, though.
Well, they know. They took care of Design long ago. Enemy gets taken out here. Yuban is really low here, too. Oi is dancing around this rock with the PK in hand. Trying to contest that. Barrel stuffs him with the PK shot and allows Secret Formula to take game number 2 on World's Edge. Oi Senpai was going crazy in the feed. We saw the Kraber shots, we saw the positioning that they were holding, and that was off of the chaos that was going down in Survey Camp.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of Survey Camp essentially was able to get prime position on that northeast side, but that shift away was so tough for all those squads who moved to Survey nice and early, and they just left kind of head in hand saying, well, I wish it had moved a little bit further north. It was a perfect opportunity for teams arriving late, like Dojo, who still pick up a top 2. I think they'll be delighted with that, considering they drop at Thermal Station. We saw an early-ish exit from Stallions, even though they had a valiant fight against Furia. They were able to win. They weren't able to survive because DNO pushed them. So we're not going to see a team on match point just yet, but teams starting to get a little bit closer now.
It's fine. We can take our time. All Apex every day, all day is what we're here for. That's what we love. Secret Formula landing in Fragment East 2 had that nice rotate around right to Survey Camp as quickly as they found out where that circle was going to be pulling. All right. I'm going to give you a break right now, Dan. You can take a breather after that kicker game. Now we're going to bring in Rain Day to break down the action at the end of that previous game that we had. The final circle as we saw that catwalk going up and Secret Formula taking it up.
All right, you brought me in, Vicky. I'm going to bring you back in, right? Okay, because I'm the host. I can't allow you to bring me places. I got to bring you back now. So now the balance of the force in the universe is set. No, great cast. I mean, it was fun to watch, I think. 2 different styles of play show up. We saw this kind of early skirmish play between DNO and Furia, and we actually had it kind of lean itself towards opening up a lot of opportunities for a team like Dojo, who was much more aggressive in terms of rotating, getting into the right spot up north, and then also deciding that they, wanted to be patient with some of their play too. You noticed that moment that kind of caught my eye, which is where they had an opportunity to push. They had that great Horizon ultimate into a grenade. Designful says, hold on, wait a second. I think we've done what we need to do. That type of maturity, Vicky, is sometimes hard to come by. And, they don't end up winning, but they get themselves in that final zone. And the story now shifts to Secret Formula as we obviously take a look at that final circle. I want you to just give me your thoughts on, what Secret Formula and Dojo kind of stood out to you in terms of this game too for them.
Dojo had a really good game here, but specifically Secret Formula, so much impact from Oi Senpai by himself. With the Kraber in hand, they finish off this solo that we got to see from BIL from the previous fight before, but they also were able to have the advantage already off the rip when they took care of Designful. He was trying to back away, but the reason why he backed away in the first place after sending out that black hole was because there was little to no cover in this open ground, and Secret Formula had all the advantage because they had the natural rock mass favoring them so that way they could get out of the line of sight of these other teams. The barrel stuff on the PK just to finish things off for Secret Formula. Now, I believe they also finished things off with, I believe, 8 KP in their pocket.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it looks like it was 9 as we take a look at the official stats here. 1,500 damage, though, for Oi Senpai. That stands out for me. Seer bringing in the utility, but also Loba bringing in the utility, and Catalyst adding to that with just an eclectic mix of options for them to play final circles. They do give up the Valkyrie, they do give up things like the Watson, and they obviously give up Bangalore or Horizon, which have great setup ultimates or delay tactics in these open zones, but they make it work. And so kudos to Secret Formula with that lineup doing work. Bill, the Dojo, even DNO, who we had mentioned, getting caught in between that kind of fight with Furia as well. They find themselves with 10 points on the day as our top 10 start to shape out a little bit more. In the back half, though, Vicky, some of these teams, they got unlucky. They got caught. You casted the game. Furia stands out to me. Just got on the wrong end of a 3-team fight.
Yeah, holding that house on the high ground south of their POI of Climatizer, maybe a little too early. We saw how much action went down in the very beginning, not only in Monument, but over in Survey Camp, where a lot of the teams were predicting to bunker down inside of those buildings and see where that circle was going to be pulling. That's why I had highlighted our Ape Squad, because Ape Gang was holding that train tracks just in case the circle didn't fully commit over to Survey, so that way they could get an easier rotation. But we saw what happened to them when they were also caught in the line of sight of our teams that were holding that north side by Grandma's building. Now, Dropped in Gaming also on the other side, most hated, as we see the finish off of our overall squads and where they're landing here. Stallion still leading the way with 35 points.
Chatham is Prime, V2, and you're definitely want to jump up the ladder there. Obviously 0 and 2 points despite great names. E8, a team that I think with Zach Mazer there and the experience that they've got, expecting more. Maybe a slow start on World's Edge. As we shift maps, things may shift up. But Stallions after their 30-point start, and then of course the Dojo with a 2nd place there. DNO with consistency all around, and Secret Formula with a win alongside Fury. They are our top 5 teams who are absolutely performing to kick off this NALCQ. Now, one big thing to note is that as we go into the action in Apex, there's action happening around the community. And sometimes it's in the lore, sometimes it's in the esport, and sometimes it's in the game. With a brand new collection event coming up, let's take a look at the Neon Network, which showcases some pretty cool stuff from Valkyrie.
The truth can only remain hidden for so long. The question is not, will you find it?
Isn't this... It can't be.
But will you allow the surge to consume you?
I swore I'd never waste my life on a vendetta again.
Coming at me is a bad move. If I have to, I'ma pop off. Ain't no looking back, I gotta hit him in the opposition getting chopped off.
This is Big Maggie. Very big.
What did you uncover?
Thief's intuition.
I don't lose playing by the rules. Now I'm out there shooting till they socks off.
Your data, it's fragmented. This might require fieldwork.
Let's see what we have over here. These walkways, the echoes. I know that look. You want revenge. Not a dragon worth chasing. Trust me.
There's still time to run.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
2 games done. It's time for us to get going once again here, Dan, with game number 3 just around the corner. And it's time for a little bit of a change of scenery. World's Edge always treats us well, we have to say, but now we get to change over to Storm Point. I'm sure there's a few teams in this lobby hoping maybe that their luck's going to change a little bit because it's been a bit of a slow start for some of them.
Well, I always like to look at our Storm Point teams, our Storm Point specialists, right? And you can't really look past the dojo because when we look at what they achieved yesterday, they were able to get 3 wins in 4 matches on Storm Point. They had a victory plus 16 kills on Storm Point. They had a victory plus 21 kills on Storm Point. If we're going to see the dojo start to get rolling and look anything like they did yesterday, you'd think this is probably going to be the map for it. And they had a pretty good game just then on World's Edge, going all the way down from the southwest side of the map, being able to get top 2 from Thermal Station despite it being a survey finish. So if they can generate those kind of points from a disappointing or a tough circle pull for them, we'll have to see what they can do on Storm Point, where they've really been able to dominate the lobbies.
Yeah, I think that just gave a good indication of how dangerous the dojo can be, with that zone being so far away from where they drop, but close enough for them to certainly get in that in-game. However, look at this early on here. We're going to see E8 having a little bit of a poke and a prod and a little bit of a fight going down. It's Ape Gang who are going to be contesting them just outside of the wall here in these eggs, and it looks like E8 at the moment are very much getting the better of it.
Dojo are very close to this one as well if they did want to try and third it. I think they've split their drop though, so just it's going to be one member who's at least looting on their own who might be able to get involved if they wanted to, but Ape Gang are just trying to escape, and this could actually prove to be pretty difficult for Dojo if they get caught in the mix of it, as I think Tails is going to run straight past one of the Dojo members.
They are pretty split, like you say. The problem here is that you got no shields, so if you do get spotted, you've only got a G7 scout and a 30-30. You're going to have to do quite some work. That's going to make it even more difficult. And there is Designful, who did split drop, like you were saying, away from the rest of Dojo, who are over at checkpoint. So he's going to be able to pick up a little KP for them. He's probably going to hope that his teammates can get in a position to maybe help him out of this situation, but it looks like E8 have backed off now. So the Dojo come out of that with I would say, the most positive result possible.
He's like, guys, I got loot and I got a kill.
I got a kill!
Time, as now there's more action happening here, going on and having a little bit of a scrap at the moment. They should be able to get back up to a full 3 whilst getting a knock of their own.
Yeah, this is going to be Chadamus Prime versus Yeah. We're going to have to see how this one turns out. Looks like Yeah got the better side of it so far. Chadamus Prime certainly on the back foot, so to speak, and certainly on his front foot is going to be Southpaws. He has to try and get out of here as the last player alive. So there are contests that we are seeing at the start of our first game on Storm Point here, and yeah, look like they have the certainly the right, I would say, to claim this as their own, certainly going into the next game.
Yeah, they should be able to at least come out confidently from this POI, but I don't think they'll be able to totally get the wipe. They're having a little search to see whether they can catch Southpaw, but Southpaw running a little bit faster, but maybe the chase is not quite up yet. But we'll have to see as these teams do progress, and I think they'll be pretty happy with winning that opening engagement, as will E8. But speaking of E8, they are now under a little bit of stress. The Dojo are still getting aggressive and looking to try and take their advantage because they've been able to take down Zach Mesa.
Yeah, he's been knocked by enemy with a 30-30, and now the Dojo, they don't need a second invitation to push. They are so aggressive when they get that opening damage done. Designful already on the hunt. You can see how aggressive he wants to be. He's not even worrying about his shields at this point. He's just waiting for a second, or looking, I should say, for an opportunity to get some damage down before retreating himself. But the Dojo for now, there is the opportunity. My goodness, but it's not good enough. He gets taken down as Naughty, who does manage to not only get the kill, but get the finish as well. Enemy's going to try and follow up on this, but it's a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of adrenaline rush coming in from the dojo.
Yeah, was surprised by that one. I mean, Design 4 was, of course, on his own a little bit earlier. Now Dojo will even things up by at least getting the finish onto Zach Mazer, and it makes it a 2v2. It's an isolated fight. No one is nearby, so it is a straight 2v2. But, oh, I like this from Dojo. Maybe they go for a little bit of a push away to get the respawn and utilize this beacon before the other squad can. I like it a lot.
It's a pretty smart play from them, you have to say. The question is, are they going to be able to do it? And do they have an LOS that's going to deny the height? Chaotic does have the height, but he doesn't have an angle onto that beacon. So Zach Mazer's probably thinking, hey, why couldn't that be me for E8? And the Dojo just a little bit quicker thinking maybe in that particular circumstance. Fury, though, they're going to lose one, but it's going to be traded out as KSR try and move up a little bit through this tunnel towards where we believe this endgame is going to go. It's going to be around Stormcatcher. Maybe down on that cannon, maybe just outside of it on the hillside. So we'll have to see how Aporia get out of this position. One of the teams who are in and around Stormcatcher at the moment. First port of order, though, is going to be to get Akimbo back on his feet. They managed to do so. Yeah,
we've got about 10 teams that are already at Stormcatcher, so it's not much room to play. It's find any sort of spot where you're not going to be drilled from someone else and just try and survive, because Aporia have been able to just find a little bit of a cubby hole here to work with. It's not the ideal position, but at least it's something they can use for the time being. We'll have to see whether the engagement happens again between Dojo and E8, but looking at my mini-map, I think E8 have retreated from that one to try and find their own respawn beacon to work with, as Aporia are just going to hold down here for now.
Meat Lovers just leaving Barometer at the moment, and there is a few teams who are actually outside of zone at the moment, just playing edge. Obviously, it's pretty early in the game, so rotations aren't going to be, I would say, prioritized for a zone like this, especially with other teams having priorities. So different approaches for different teams. As you can see, Meat Lovers on the left-hand side of the screen, just inside of zone. You've got Secret Formula moving to their north as well. Yeah, moving towards Barometer. You got Bill, or BIL, moving towards Antenna. On the right side, you got DNO, Most Hated, E8, and the Dojo still outside of zone as well. Most Hated and E8 very, very close to each other at the moment, and maybe looking to have a little sniff at a fight.
How many E's are in their name? Quickfire, tell me. Stop counting. Stop counting.
12.
All right, good. I actually don't know what the answer is. I just wanted to...
Is it 12?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know. It's moving too much. My brain can't comprehend. Also, I need more of an American accent when you go for the team name as well.
All right,
like,
you're
giving me like a
I'm an Englishman.
I need a year. That's what I'm going for.
I'm not one of those dual passport holding fiends like you.
What an insult that you've gone for.
Come on, man, I'm on broadcast. Anyway, let's talk about Meat Lovers. Let's see what they're doing. They're hitting the Triton at the moment, looking to move through Jurassic towards where that zone's going to be. They should have a pretty clear path at the moment, unless they head towards Antenna, of course, where there is a team waiting, and that looks like what the play modes be. But oh my goodness, Most Hated are gonna find E8, and Naughty is gonna find the wrong end of an R99.
Yeah, a very naughty finish. But on the other side, Naughty is Most Hated are a 2, but remember they were going up against E8, who were also down and a little bit low at the same time, and it could be the end for E8 as Zach Mazer falls yet again as Most Hated try and even this one up, and actually they now have the player advantage here.
They certainly do. It's just about taking the Q and finishing off the work that you've already started here. Dynasty is looking to finish off this kill. He's making it look a little bit more difficult than it needs to be with the player taken to the skies, but finally E8 will be eliminated. A very, very rough start for them. A rough start for Zach Mazer, you have to say. Got into the game, got knocked. Sorry, got into the game, was contested. Then the Dojo come over, they knock him, he gets rezzed, and then he gets immediately pushed again. So not really been able to play too much Apex Legends so far, just spent more time with the dropship than with his feet on the ground.
Zone's going to be moving even further east, by the way, and that is clarification that it is going to be Stormcatcher and there or thereabouts for those teams who didn't know, well, now will know, excuse me, and they will certainly be making their way over. But that means the surrounding areas, there's not much room to play, so all the current spots will have been taken. So we might see a few teams get a little bit more aggressive who are arriving on the edge and look to try and take fights instead to pick up some KP here.
Well, BIL, they've lost one. I'm going with Bill, by the way. I feel like Bill is better. They're going to be trying to survive for now by the looks of things. They're not going to be able to get the banner by the looks of it, which means they're going to have to play this one out as a 2. Team Stability, who I've been quiet, I would say, so far at the start of this tournament, into our third game, of course, but the first two, we weren't really talking about them too much, and with a team with this much talent on it, Dan, somewhat of a surprise.
Yeah, I think that there's a few teams here that maybe should have been talked about a little bit more. Should have been talked about a little bit more, but there is such a wealth of history in this lobby that we can only mention a certain amount of teams until they're on our screen. But we know what Madness is capable of, and you spoke about Keon and his history. You add Shubi to that lineup, and this is a team who could be at championships, right? But they just need to have that pop-off game to put them in contention and put them in the conversation, really, of being an LCQ winner. At the moment, they've been a little bit quiet and haven't necessarily had one of those big points total games, even throughout the entirety of the LCQ. It's been more on the likes of Dojo, for example, who, of course, take the plaudits because of their impressive performance. DNO, we were speaking about a little bit earlier, they're third at the moment with 27. They're getting closer towards match point, and it looks like they're getting closer to this final member, which they will take down, and it'll be 28 points they find themselves on now.
Have to be careful, though, because are still in the area. Antennae. So DNO, even though they pick up that essentially free donated KP of the solo player trying to escape, they certainly have to be aware of the situation that's in front of them. Also recognize this isn't a fight they want to take right now. I'm going to rotate back out towards Jurassic, and DNO are going to change directions completely. So they run away from each other, almost like two of the same. What's the exact term for this, by the way? You know, magnets. Damn, this is a conversation I didn't think we'd be having, by the way. So I apologize, everyone. What's the technical term for when you use the two same sides of a magnet? The same polarity? Is that right?
Yeah, sure.
We'll go with yes.
Yes.
Any scientists in the chat, let me know. Production just confirmed. Polarity. It was like two teams with the same polarity running towards each other there, Dan. They just repelled.
Well, as I never ask you about math, you should never ask me about science. This is what we've learned.
You're going to say you should never ask me about magnets.
Those two. But DNO, as you said, the polarity of the situation, they will now retreat. Will they be the positive or the negative, though, Mark? That's my real question here.
Oh, that was the punchline.
Yeah, it was.
DNO, yeah. DNO taking a little bit of damage, though, as they scrape their way into zone here. Lou is going to pop that battery and get back healthy. And at the moment, just looking at DNO's position on the map, the team that's going to be behind them is Secret Formula, and they should have a pretty easy walk up towards zone for now. But the next zone is going to be very, very tough for them to get into. And I tell you what, Secret Formula, team to watch and player to watch right now is the man on your screen. O-Senpai hit some really, really big Kraber shots in that previous game that we saw on World's Edge. This time can't quite connect. A little bit of a flick of the wrist. Certainly got that one close, but it wasn't enough to hit the body and do significant damage.
Now, the outskirts of this circle are starting to look a little bit ugly because there are a lot of teams who are closing in but don't have any room to play. You've got Command Center, which is filled by Hated and Meat Lovers. Then you've got the Southwest here with 4 different teams that are all going to be approaching the zone at the same time. So in a minute and 40, they're all going to have to fight each other or just try and survive by running next to one another and not get shot by the teams that are in Stormcatcher. One team that's interesting, I know I've been harping on about Dojo for quite some time, but they're up at Thunderwatch at the moment. You can see on your screen. So they're looking to try and rotate from the north. Meat Lovers might have had a little peek towards them. They are going to have the crypto drone available to get that info and see where Dojo are. But Dojo were more than happy to go to Thunderwatch and now arrive from that northern side, which isn't the worst plan in the world, honestly, because coming downhill is certainly better than fighting uphill.
Yeah, I think they're kind of stuck at the moment, though, Meat Lovers. You can see at the top of your screen right now on the map overhead, Dojo Thunderwatch, right? Meat Lovers tech sending out the drone on Crypto to see if he can kind of scout the area and make a decision on what they want to do. But if they move back through Command Center, you can also see the Most Hated are kind of on the bottom side of that. Meat Lovers control the top, so maybe they'll be able to escape that way, but difficult situation for them to try and find their way out of. The Dojo now going to move towards zone, going to be forced to move towards zone, as in 40 seconds that is really going to start tanking away at those white meds. Took a little bit of time there just to craft a few extra med kits on their way down this hill for sure, but now you're starting to see how difficult a move this is going to be. By the way, if Timmy lands this perfectly, that smoke, and denies those lines of sight, it might be one of the best smokes we've ever seen.
And they have the survey beacon information, so they'll be able to know where they have to avoid, but we'll see their journey a little bit later as Madness gets the opening onto Senpires. Now, Team Stability are doing what they can to force their way in from this southwest side, but they might have got the knock, but it's about where you go after, and you have to stay healthy here. Try and win this engagement flawlessly without going down, but Madness does get knocked.
Shuby looking to clean up the damage, and Secret Formula will be taken down. So Team Stability do stay alive, will be able to reset and get Madness back on his feet. So they win the initial fight, but look at the zone down. 54 seconds until that is closing in behind them. It's really going to start hurting for them. The good news for them is that they can walk up. They have no one in front of them at the moment. The only team that's holding them out is inside of zone right now, which is going to be Flat, and Stallions maybe having a little poke as well. But on our screen now, it's Most Hated. They're going to have to take to the sky, using that Q to avoid the damage.
Yeah, it's going to be Yer on the other side. Meat Lovers got out of dodge, by the way. They used this to just get up into the sky and out of reach of Most Hated, who will take down Yer and now kill leaders as well. 15 squads remaining, as now teams are going to be slowly pushed into zone here. Most have been able to find somewhere in Stormcatcher, but there are still some who are going to be straggling in the lower parts and underneath it that might be able to pick up some KP as the late edge teams will arrive. DNO are going to be in the area to maybe do some damage here against Most Hated. Chadamus Prime have a solo rat that's going to be arriving late as well, but DNO need to be careful with the amount of damage they're taking from Ring here, but they are just able to survive.
Chadamus Prime are eliminated. Team Stability also eliminated. And now the nades are starting to cause all sorts of problems. Lou is going to go down the black hole. He's just trapping them. It's suffocating them in this corner. And now the final two, Xenox and Duplex, have to do something special here to keep this game alive for them. The knockdown is going to be there to play around here for Duplex. But can he get that battery off? And is Xenox there to capitalize on some of that damage? Rise are going to swing this one, Dan.
Well, Rise are swinging it, but Most Hated, remember, they are just in the area as well. And they've done some damage to Rise here as it's a last chance with DNO to maybe survive because of the third party. As DNO survive, Rise go down, but Most Hated should clean up DNO and get the final pieces of this puzzle complete, which they will. DNO go down. Most Hated are the real victors, as unfortunately for Rise, they were not able to finish off those kills quick enough. So the fight's just slightly slowed down now as teams have been able to work out who is the victor of each area. Dojo hold the northern side, Hated hold the western side, and then we've got Flat and Stallions on the south. Now the eastern side is where you want to be. Native Gaming and Noxious hold two of the buildings that are going to be within that final circle, so everyone's going to be joining them in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, Native Gaming, the building they hold, I think is certainly the best one. Noxious in that kind of, I would say, sausage-shaped building. Huh? The kind of, they're connected to the zip line. You know, the other side is Stormcatcher. It's a hot dog down. Let's be real. The little tunnel that you end up on the zip line. Most Hated are going to have to maybe, I was about to say, think about using this evac tower that's in their inventory right now, and they should be in a safe enough place to do it. Cleared out this side of the zone. Like you say, they've got the cover of that building in front of them. The question is, can they get up into the sky without taking too much damage of the teams who are in and around Stormcatcher? They survive long enough for the balloon to not pop, and now they're going to be able to land here on a cheeky little corner. Lovely little move.
Have to check above them, though. There is going to be a team directly on top of this building, but they should be able to just stay alive, but they are going to be vulnerable in the spot they are. It's going to be Furia who are on top of Stormcatcher, but all of these squads are happy on the Stormcatcher building for now, but you can see there in the top left on your screen, that circle is going to the eastern side. Furia know about it, though. We'll have to see when they decide to make that move, but for now they can look up to potentially pick up some KP. 11 squads remain as everyone now forces their way into Stormcatcher.
KSR eliminated in the meantime. You can see Native Mamba. He's going to be going back to the safety of his two teammates as the Dojo make their assault on this building. This is the one I was saying is the one that might win the game. Designful's going to have to escape back down to that low ground and manages to do so. Having to take a few seconds here just to pop that barrier and make sure that they're fully healthy if they do choose to fight. It looks like they're going to expend a few resources here just to make sure they don't get pushed.
It's about surviving at the moment for Dojo and maybe just avoiding some sight lines, seeing if they can stay alive without other squads knowing they're there, and then just surprise everyone by joining in the last possible moment. Teams now starting to walk their way into these buildings that are on this eastern side. They might be walking right into the Dojo, though, as they do have the head glitch to work with, as now they try and take some height, and they will take the top of this building.
Yeah, really, really smart play that from the Dojo. The timing of it perfect, because they were being pinched by Stallions and Most Hated. Native's still inside of this building as well. Enemy going to have an ult excel, which is so vital as well towards this endgame, to have the Dark Veil available to use, especially when teams are going to be flooding in from Stormcatcher, and that is such a good Dark Veil. Completely denies those lines of sight we were talking about, and will keep them alive on the roof for a few moments more.
Is it too early? I think they were panicking because they were taking a lot of damage, but I think what's important for them is just to survive. If you can make this another 20 seconds with the Dark Veil being up, then teams maybe will forget about you for a short while and start to focus on one another. Because in 7 seconds, all those teams on the west have got to move. Furia, Flat, Meat Lovers, Aporia, and Drop-In Gaming all have to try and move over to this eastern side. So they are going to be very vulnerable and all focusing on one another. And it might just allow teams like the Dojo to avoid some of that fire they were taking earlier.
Yeah, you can see it. Evac tower gone down as well, and I wonder if they're going to try and just shortcut, jump up onto that and try and get ahead of the traffic. Furia. However, the rest of the lobby is looking at them at the moment. Flat are going to be eliminated in the meantime as we find ourselves down to 9 squads now. Noxious, this is the hot dog building I was talking about. It is going to be safe in that next zone, and they're going to have great vision, but now they're going to get pushed themselves. Great shots coming in from that Prowler to stop a little bit of a surprise. Ambino going to take down Akimbo in the feed as well. As all of a sudden the EMP comes in as well, and that could only mean one thing, that Meat Lovers are close.
Meat Lovers are in the area. Furia just lost one. Native are still healthy. Most hated in Dojo awesome from that northern side as Aporia go down. And Dojo are still on top of this building, still in one of the prime positions as Drop-In Gaming also fall, as do Meat Lovers. So now it's just 6 squads that will remain going into this last circle as everyone has now found somewhere to live, somewhere to reside, somewhere to reset, and to think about how they want to play this final circle. 35 seconds to have a little bit of a think and a discussion between your side of how you want to approach this one. Furia, they're just a 2 on the low ground, so one of the most difficult positions for them. Everyone else seems to be healthy enough, but this circle is going to be going between these 2 buildings, so that those little crates that you see in the middle of your screen, that's about where the circle will finish. So it is going to be a tough old journey for everyone involved. No one is in prime position right now when it comes to the center circle.
Oh, they're making a play on the roof. They're trying to take this most hated away from the Dojo, and they might be the most hated if they're not careful. However, the Dojo hold for now. Dynastity's last alive. Is anyone going to try and follow up on this damage? 2 still alive here. Enemy is going to be taken down to barely any shields, and now Designful says, you know what? You can all scrap. You can all fight. I'm going to try and survive, but it's going to be short-lived. The Dojo are eliminated as Stallions take the height.
Stallions take the height. Stallions on 43. Stallions are 7 points away from match point. A victory here would do it. In fact, I mean, top 2 and some kills would probably do it, and they're in a pretty good spot. Slayer's, though, taking some damage. He's down low on his own, and now that's so tough for Stallions. If they were all on the roof, they would have had a real chance here, but now they're going to have to work their way as a 2. Good news for them is there is another 2 on the board, though. Furia are 2 that they're working with at the same time.
Furia down on that low ground. You can see that Zeratricky is trying to do what he can to survive. I wonder if Furia have been taken down to just 1. That is going to be the case. Stallions up on that high ground, so close here to match point. If they can close this out with a win and some KP alongside it, they've already got 3, then maybe this is going to be our first team hitting match point in our last chance qualifier. Dark Veil ready. Dark Veil going to be raised here. They cut the zone, but they're going to be cut themselves. All of a sudden, what looked like a really good play looks a little bit more sketchy for them, but now they make the call to drop. Stallions is going to drop down here. Native Gaming looking to drop on this when the damage is now going to be done. They do, and Native Gaming, who held that building down for so long in that mid-game, get the job done. They just appeared out of nowhere. It was like they're just waiting for that perfect moment. They stride out of that building at just the right time, and Dan, they get the job done.
So close for Stallions to get onto match point. They are 2 away. But Native Gaming, they start to creep closer to match point as well, but we still have no squads on match point. I mean, I say that like we should have had a team on match point. We, of course, shouldn't. We've only done 3 maps, but with how we were seeing things at playoffs and what we've seen in some of the other regions, 3 maps sometimes is enough to get a couple of teams, if not 1 team, onto match point. But Stallions just can't quite get it. Frustrating for them that they weren't able to have a full 3 going into that final circle. Still a valiant effort, but a very difficult circle to navigate for a lot of those teams who were on Stormcatcher, because as soon as it moved away onto the eastern side, there was no chance really for them to get across.
Yeah, very, very tough zone to navigate, like you say, from Stormcatcher, but it is going to be I thought for a second then we were going to have the match point team, the first one of the day down, but Not quite yet. We've got some more Apex to play before we decide who those teams are going to be. But as far as the leaderboards are concerned, I think that one's certainly going to shake it up with a couple of teams within striking distance for sure now. Another good game for Furia as well. Zeratricky did a great job in that end game to just stay alive for a few more seconds, bought a few more placement points, which can be oh so valuable when it comes down to those final standings. And at the end of it, we'll bring Rain and Vicky back in because it's going to be another interesting game of Apex. Stormpoint never disappoints.
I'm disappointed in you, Mark. You know my rule with Vicky of not bringing me in, and I can't bring anybody in now to balance out the force here. Okay, listen, I'm gonna leave it at that one, but seriously, let me drive this bad boy. You guys just cast a great game. So let me have a chance. Let me have a moment. Listen, guys, fantastic opportunities, I think, to look at these teams that have been performing. I want to go around the horn for this halftime recap. We don't have a guest. We have all four of us. We can kind of talk shop about what's actually occurred over 3. And I think let's start just with the most immediate action, that final circle, guys. And I think I will go back to you, Mark, and then to Vicky, and then to Dan in that order. What did you see here? Because Native Gaming, sure, they won the game, and we're looking at it from their perspective, but it was a story of a lot of different teams having a chance.
Yeah, it certainly was. I think Native Gaming, this is, it said as soon as we saw this zone and we saw it pull over to the eastern side of Stormcatcher, this is the building that is playable for the longest. And Native Gaming with Catalyst, you're able to just control the doors, which is so important with the reinforce. You stop pushes going down, you can prod, you can peek on any teams who are trying to take the side as the fights break out in that end game. But this is the first time we're going to see it fully from their point of view. And I think they made a decision to swing out, I think, pretty late after all the Dark Veils were used. They tried to use the cover of this building for as long as physically possible and let the rest of the lobby really do the damage. And then they just step out into zone. Everyone else is doing the damage. The zone gets cut for them with that Dark Veil. And look at this. They've just got the whole zone to themselves with everyone else trying to force fights, knowing that they might not be in position to win this game. They were looking for KP.
I think Vicky, too, look at this. This really worked out well for Native Gaming to not have a lot of contest here.
Yeah, the fact that everybody else left in this final circle was just a duo was just early Christmas coming in the hands of Native Gaming. They were able to just clean up everybody else that was left in that lobby, and also noting that the squad that was above them lost out on one of their teammates. Hate to expose them, but with Slayers randomly dropping down even though his team had the roof did cost Stallions in that moment, so Native knew that they were a duo on top of them too.
Not a big win either, Dan, but 3 teams getting a lot of points after game 3.
And most importantly for the rest of the lobby, no one getting onto match point. So going into match 4, you can just calmly go about your business and try and get your points totals up towards MP, knowing that no one else is going to have the opportunity to win the game. But we should have a team on match point after match 4, with Stallions now only being 2 points away. What does impress me, or I guess can confuse me at times, is how many points are being picked up by the entirety of this lobby. 3, 4, 1, 6, everyone getting points in the lower side. No one really getting that big point game as of yet. But there's the confirmation, Stallions on 48, 2 points away from match point.
So close to it. And I actually, looking back at that, I want to, if anyone has a response to this, feel free. I think Stallions might have made a mistake with that wall and then how they played it, because they put the wall up, but then they dropped down to the low ground, and you saw how Native approached last, sure, but they stayed high ground. I mean, does anyone think that maybe there was a potential better rotation from Stallions, or maybe just more patience, or is that just me?
I think that I maybe would have held the position after they had got that wall and they saw that the zone was pulling slightly towards their Dark Veil, but I think the reason why they tried to engage is they felt the team below them was weak enough that maybe they could have got the kills to get them onto match point. So perhaps that was why they made that call. A little bit worried about the team that was going to be pushing from their northern side, and it was Native. They did arrive, and I just think it was one of those in-the-moment decisions of, well, how do we get the points? What's the most efficient way? Do we wait and hope that we don't get pushed, or do we try and take it into our own hands here and be the aggressors? It didn't work out, but I don't hate it. I don't hate taking risks. It's just one of those that can go 50-50.
I mean, let's look at this roster and highlight them even more, Mark, because the only thing it brings up to me is you got to take a chance. It maybe makes that moment with Slab and Amia even more special, because sometimes you don't know what's facing you outside, so you got to hope to do it well. And if you do it perfectly, it's this special moment. They didn't get it done there, but certainly no criticism to our first place team so far. Only 2 points away from match point.
I mean, you look at this roster and, you know, these guys have been around for a while. These guys know how to get it done. I mean, Retsy's been there since day one. Yeah. I see Retsy. I still see a Wraith running around causing problems. It's just like, it's permanently seared in my memory. You add Funk and you add Crust. I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team. We all know that. And Retsy's going to make some great calls in that end game. It's where he really has shined historically as an IGL. Maybe the macro hasn't been brilliant for this team over the last year or so, but the micro in those end games, navigating those final moments and really finding the correct kind of openings to capitalize on is what makes Stallions and Retsy so good. So I think he's doing a great job of doing exactly that right now, and things seems to be working for them. And maybe this is going to be a roster that's going to be working their ways to champs, but I don't want to curse them yet, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, hold off on that. They're going to be pretty upset if they don't make it, but it is nice to see Retsy and Lou and Synox all competing. That Sentinels roster, who hasn't really found the mesh with another roster since that moment, now maybe having a chance to see Retsy find that glue and then have some consistency with a team over the course of a big tournament. Vicky, I want to end with you before we go to break. Who do you have your eyes on heading into the final, not final 3, but the final of our guaranteed 3 here, as we must play 6 today at the very least? Who stands out? Who do you think is taking it, you know, as it stands right now?
I like to look at consistency, and I know it's probably going to be obvious here, but with Stallions being the only consistent team that we have seen thus far, I really liked Dan's observation there, calling out that Stallions had recognized where they stand in terms of points, how they needed to get that KP. They're just 2 points away from sitting at match points, and they're one of the only teams so far in these few games that we've had that have remained consistent. That was just the first game on Storm Point, though, so we can see other teams really coming to life where they feel more comfortable.
Dan, quickly to you, and then Mark, quick prediction. Who do you have taking it after you've seen 3 games?
I'm still going to go with Dojo. I think they've still got something up their sleeve, a big game awaiting us, and it's just bound to happen with how they've been performing so far this weekend.
Mark?
Dojo.
I
believe.
Oof. You know what? There's a lot of Dojo Stallions. I'm going to go with Dojo as well, just because I'm really impressed with how I've seen them navigate the situations. But it's anybody's game still. No one is on match point. We've got teams earning points, whether in the bottom half or the top half. So it's just getting more intense. And we've got at least 3 more games to play. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, as Game 4 is coming up in your NA LCQ right after this. WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, you beautiful Apex fans, and welcome to the main event. This is going to be Vicky and Onset taking you through game number 4. Storm Point going to be where we're headed back to. And one thing to point out here, Vicky, is not only do we have a few teams that are very, very close to hitting match point, I want to see what happens on these contests the second time around, because for EA, I think it felt like they were a little bit caught off guard by what happened to them at the start of that game, because it wasn't just one team that was close to them. You also had the Dojo having a little bit of a peek and a prod as well. So I wonder how they're going to try and approach this next game. Are they going to expect the contest? Are they going to try and play somewhere else? What are your thoughts on this? How do you think it's going to go?
With only one team really being as close as they are to match point, I say take the fight right here. You want to get as many KP as you want, or if you're not very confident, then you're going to have to start counting your blessings and decide whether you want to figure out more scarce loot elsewhere here, because I think this is the only contention that we have only on Storm Point, because everyone was playing pretty nice on World's Edge from what we had seen already from the action in our first 2 games.
Yeah, one thing that kind of jumped out to me in that last game as well is we did have that contest with the EA. We also saw a little bit of a contest going down at Cenote, but it was the pace of the game once people realized that they weren't going to be able to get prio to zone, right? We saw a lot of teams looking for fights, hunting for fights on the edge of zone, and we got to, so I would say zone 4, zone 5, and we had about 12, 13 squads alive, I think it was, so the pace certainly starting to pick up. And I wonder if that's because the teams who are falling behind have realized that a couple of teams are getting very, very close to match point. We'll have to see if that pace does continue. Maybe it was zone that dictated the pace of that game. Maybe it was players deciding they want to try and kill each other. We'll have to find out how that's going to progress now as we head into match number 4.
It was funny to see how that EA and Ape Gang fight went down, considering the fact that EA has all of wall and Ape usually lands over by the other side of wall, so that way they can get that trident and then immediately rotate to finish looting their POI depending on where that circle is going to be pulling. Maybe a little bit of reaping that we could take a look into the future here for our squads, as again we're going to tune into E8, see how the action plays out off the rip.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to go straight to wall here, and they're having a little look around, see if anyone is going to be contesting them, and yes, they are. So EA are going to have another fight on their hands here. This time, we'll say on the more traditional side of the POI. Chaos are going to be able to pick up a Prowler and a Mozam. Not too bad a loadout to get for a contest. The question is, he's going to feel confident enough to push off the back of this.
Noxus usually lands over at high point here, so landing on the outskirts of wall could just mean that they got whiff of the fight earlier on and maybe wanting to play more passive-aggressive to see if they could get a little toxic here and involve themselves in a third party, maybe farm those Evo shields if they can, if that fight does go on. Having that survey beacon also right next to them and the ring console on top of that means that Noxus is going to be able to have a lot of information before they decide where they want to rotate, seeing that they are in the circle.
Yeah, a little bit of a change in pace there. You saw Noxus, like you say, they went towards high point, kind of left the fight alone. I would say EA are going to have the wall to themselves now. Ape Gang going to take control of the armory and the rest of North Pad. The dojo playing a little bit closer to each other this time around over at checkpoint. Maybe everyone was a little bit surprised with how busy things were, but 2 teams who are still contesting here at Cenote is going to be on your screens right now. One of them, Chadamus Prime, and I'm pretty sure last time it didn't go too well for them.
You see Yer on the other side, just seeing they could take different angles here for this fight. Reason why we sometimes see this contest here in Cenote Cave is because there is a ring console, and the information for these type of compositions is absolutely key, with the Catalyst wanting to bunker down, reinforce the walls, and even on top of that, you got the replicator right there. I know the 3x scope is in there, so they can work with that, as well as getting any extra bats if they want to. I know the purple standard stock is also in there too, working with what they got here, as Yer is going to take advantage of that.
Where the zone is going is always a point of interest, and speaking of points, it's going to high point to right at the northern tip of the map. Very difficult to work your way in here, and Noxus are taking down a great spot early on. They are the team who had the most priority to it, and E8 at the moment, who are trying to rotate up that hill after hitting the ring console. Well, now they're trying to survive. Zach Mays is taken down to no shields. You can see they were trying to make a quick rotate out from wall, but 2 whites and a purple isn't really what you want if you're getting held out trying to make a quick rotate. Now you're kind of stuck in that no man's land of like, where do we try and play now? What is plan B? Because taking a fight with these armors is not what you really want to be doing.
That's why I'm surprised they didn't just craft blues here, as we see the fight now actually work out in Chadamus Prime's favor. Yer gets taken out and essentially just walking care packages, because they're going to be able to capitalize off of the loot that they were just crafting earlier, just looting it off their death boxes instead.
KSR going to be going up the hill. We just saw E8 on as well a few seconds ago. E8 did escape and managed to scarper back past them. So they're going back to the wall now. And it's going to be interesting to see if KSR can fight their way into towards high point, where this zone is going to be going. E8 on your screens right now, back at the wall. Looking elsewhere on the map at the moment. Furia still over at Lightning Rod, doing what they can, looting up. They don't have access to a ring console, I'm pretty sure. So maybe they're just staying here a little bit longer than they would have thought. If they can get that info and start to see where teams are going, though, they're going to have to leave. And the sooner they leave, the better, of course. But they're just not going to know that right now.
can also reveal where the circle is going to be pulling without even them having access to the rain console. Seeing so many teams already clustered on that north side by them could be the indicator that they need to make their next move. E8 here still taking their time over by the wall. Again, was a little surprised that they didn't opt to craft some blue evos here, since that's what they're going to be working with at the very beginning. But maybe instead, still noting that they could try to take this fight against Ape Gang if they have taken their time in rotating. KSR taking to the sky with the skyward dive. Valkyrie ults not seen as often anymore, but at this point in time, it's a great time to use it. Not too late in the game, but early enough for you guys to take control over the rooftops, so it's nice to see. They also have the rampart, so this works into the team composition and their strengths, as they're going to be able to bunker down and take advantage of the black market later.
48 points here for Stallions. 2 more is all they need, and there's a team who's peeking and prodding, looking through the windows at them as well. Funk is more than ready for that. He's going to send in the black hole to just slow them down, retreat to his team a little bit more. But 2 KP is all you're thinking here if you're Stallions. If you get the chance to third party something, just go for it. Just absolutely throw yourself at it and get those 2 points secured. And then head towards that next game on match point. Nice shots coming in with this 30-30. Oh, I was going to say nice. They are more than nice. They are quite something. Pretty, I would go as far to say. Skull Piercer is certainly going to help as well if you can crack one of those skulls on your way through. But for now, Stallions may be thinking this is our fight to take.
You see the pings behind them, though. It looks like they are aware that there could be another team within the area. Depending on how a squad that's trying to rotate away from them is going to play off that slight high ground that overlooks some of the action below them, like Thunderwatch and Lightning Rods. I do believe it's going to be flat on the other side by Command Center. Meat Lovers now trying to skirt away. First, going to have to restabilize here, as they did get pressured out originally off the high ground of wall. So Meat Lovers are over here. It's Dojo on the other side that are actually trying to not only mark them down from the back, but also in front of them is still E8 and Most Hated, who have made the rotation through the wall.
Yeah, E8 in a really, really interesting position right now, where they kind of got stuck on their first rotate, didn't really know whether to go forward or back, and now they've found themselves sandwiched between a number of teams, with that zone, of course, going to be closing in behind them as well. Meat Lovers do manage to navigate their way through, and using the pathways like respectable humans that they are to avoid doing damage to the environment on this Trident. 19 squads still remaining in this game, as everybody's starting to make their way forward. The only team who's not in zone right now, I looked at my map overhead for just a second, is Chadamus Prime, who is still in Cenote, just outside of it.
What? Actually, okay. Well, I guess you have to take your time when you found yourself in their terms an intense beginning fight, but they got to start moving soon here. Next circle already closed in. They did have the information off the ring console too. Maybe that's why they wanted to take their time, just so that way they could hop on a Trident after scanning the ring twice, and now finally making their way over. Meanwhile, everybody else taking a look at what we have. E8 still a little bit lost north of where Most Hated is. Dojo as well is still on the high ground over the wall. They're inside that next circle, but they definitely know where they may have to rotate. Wondering if we could see maybe a rotate through Command Center, or if they still want to take the aggression uphill, playing up the low ground and take the risk and going through the side.
I feel like E8 need to clear this side of zone out. That's the only way they're going to have success in this game. They're going to have to take a few fights, and they're going to have to win them here. The team that's currently in and around them is going to be Most Hated. Ape Gang up on the height, where those zip lines are, just to the right of the point of view of Chaotic we're watching right now. So that's why they're a little bit kind of playing this one with a bit of trepidation. There's those shots coming in. EA can't afford to fully send it at the moment, because they know that third party is in the vicinity, but with 1 minute 45, decisions have to be made here, and they don't have the best rotational tools to do it.
Also looks like they did end up crafting up those blue evos. That's something that we were trying to see if they were going to try to prioritize at the very beginning, but they did want to go for the quick rotate, but we saw what ended up happening there, which is why they are right back at wall at their POI. They don't have information on where that next circle is going to be pulling, and essentially looking at the attachments, living up the stakes. They really only had the crafter to rely on. So living up the land here, as Meat Lovers on the other side, rocking full purple. 4 bats, and Tech is gonna have to possibly use one here. He gets pressure on it even more. Backing away in time and just getting the ping, so that way he lets the team know who's already on the high ground here. That's the position that we saw earlier from Stallions that they were holding.
Looking elsewhere on the map, you can see Xenox, Duplex, and Co. inside of the egg building. Stallions still 2 points away, still just 2 points away, but it's crazy how when you're so close, Vicky, it's almost like 2 points away. You feels like 20 points away in the previous game. Just knowing you have to just find a couple of KP to get yourself onto match point and complete stage 1 of going towards the ALGS championships. At the moment, they can't find anyone. You can see why they're playing this outside of command center for so long. They're trying to just see if they can get free shots, catch free KP on anyone who's going to be walking below them. There are a couple of teams who are going to have to walk their way in. One of them being Meat Lovers. Bill are going to be there as well. And still, in the other side of command center is going to be flat. So they do have an opportunity for KP, but it's about choosing the right fight. It's about making sure that when you do see an opportunity to fight, that it's the right one with the easiest KP available. Because if they misstep here on 48 points and have to watch the rest of the lobby, that's going to hurt so much.
Also, while holding high ground, too, they can expect teams rotating from the north side of wall, and while they hold this position, the teams will inevitably come in their direction if these teams want to prioritize the high ground position. So, patient play will pay off eventually here for Stallions, especially looking at the fact that they got the Hemlock in their hand, the weapon loadout with the Vault here, ready for that close quarter fight, just in case the team behind them, like Dojo, ends up going for that low ground rotation right below them.
One thing that maybe starts to worry Stallions here, and the longer this goes on and the longer that they don't have engagements to take, is 3 blue armors at this, when you get to round 3 with people crafting on their way in, taking fights, zone teams doing damage from the inside out, is that taking a 3v3 you expect to be maybe going up against a couple of purples. I know that Retsy's kind of 72 damage off of leveling up that Evo shield, but you still got to hit that shot. You have to wonder where Slayer and Funk are going to be as far as getting their purples are as well. Nobody's showing for them at the moment. This is kind of a test of patience for them.
Nowhere to go here for them. Why overextend at this point? They're in a good position. And while holding this back end too, they're already expecting teams to rotate out of command center into this high ground. So not only are they denying the rotation from the south side from the teams like Flat, Chatham is Prime, who've taken their time to rotate in, that could rotate from that south side through command center, but they're also going to be able to deny any open sight lines that teams like Furia, Meat Lovers over at Thunderwatch could be rotating from the north side. They're holding 2 different angles that is going to work into the bigger plan here. They won't even be able to overextend, let's say, if they even get a knock down below, because holding that high ground is more important at this time, where they can just allow these kills to come to them and then just rain down extra pressure once these squads funnel out into their line of sight from down below.
You can almost feel like the tension in the lobby right now for a lot of teams, right? You can see that nobody wants to give up a position. Everyone's waiting for that zone to kind of do the work for them, to force the teams into the positions they already have. The team at the moment who's crafting that you can see at the top of your screen, that's going to be Chadamus Prime V2, full name every single time. But they're being held out here by Secret Formula, and Flat coming around the corner. This is the team Flat who are kind of poking and prodding at Stallions. They've gone all the way down from command center now and are trying to wrap through the southern side of the zone. Survey Beacon's going to be pretty good, but the only problem
they got the knock.
They get the knock, and they gave that position away, and now they're going to hit the cannon, and this is the definition of a Hail Mary.
And they've also exposed themselves to the third party moving in. That's going to be Flat moving out of command center. They were not expecting it at this time. Rotating from the south side, getting caught in the seer attack. Slow for just a temporary amount of time before now rotating away. Meanwhile, the creeping barrage has now made an appearance, and Flat are going to be able to try to dance around it here to get into position. Not feel that extra pressure, but Saucer still finds himself susceptible. With the squad still on the high ground here, though, even though there was a knock on the other side, you got to be careful. You're sandwiched between 2 teams.
Just don't know where they're getting shot from right now. The 30-30 was enough. We did see one team go down in the meantime. I'm pretty sure that was Aporia who did go down. As now we're going to see the wrap try to be continued. Shots coming in from Secret Formula here. Bill eliminated as well. As finally, the zone does a lot of the work for these teams, like we mentioned previously, forcing them in, forcing the fights. A black hole is pretty darn good. Coming in from Yubin here. The shots are even better as well. Can he connect with a 30-30 for the finish? That's the question. The knockdown, a nuisance, but Flat will be eliminated, and Secret Formula will hold this position.
Yubin's insane. The immediate retaliation after Secret Formula were flanked from behind after the third party came in. Meanwhile, Chadamus Prime says, that's none of our business. We are going to prioritize our rotate. They get the res. They try to get the reset here where Southpaws could pop off this med kit. They know that there's a squad right behind them and a team right above. Taking the gravity lift now could put them at risk, though, in the line of sight of not just this team that's been hanging out here, but as well as Stallions. That's Meat Lovers on the top.
Should be able to reset hit. Meat lovers will know that all of a sudden the position they've been holding down is under siege. There's another team walking up on them as well. That's secret formula. And Meat lovers have got to make a decision here. Do we try and take this fight? Do we try and force these two teams into each other and try and third party? E8 have worked their way into zone here. This has been a really, really good job from them. But there's the mother load. Oh, that's going to hurt, but they managed to avoid most of that damage. Maybe their position's going to be given away, but you would expect a siege to
oh my goodness.
Start in the next few seconds, but Chaotic doing work for them. Naughty hitting some good shots as well.
He hit him with the anti-oop, flew up in the air, and they got taken down. And with the ring closing in behind them, this is the time where you don't want to take the extra pressure. Ring closing in, they're going to be able to get the res. The Arc Star slightly brushing through the side. Not going to feel that pressure here. The Thermite also missing its mark. Meanwhile, Funk is getting funky with it here. He's going to be able to find 2 picks already off in the feed.
Meat lovers have moved bang into center zone, by the way. It's been a really, really good pull from them. High point teams are going to have to move towards their south a little bit more. You can see the zone on your screen in the top left. 1 minute 20 until the zone's going to really start to take effect on these teams. And E8, who have been under pressure so far, 2 games, 8 points. Not good enough if you want to go to the ALGS championships from them. But 1 good game here, and all of a sudden your fortunes can change. And one thing we know about E8, Vicky, is momentum is huge for them. If they get on a roll, they can be difficult to stop.
I mean, the fact that they were able to find their way in this position in the first place when they were pressured out and hanging out at their POI for what, the first circle and a half, while the second circle was still setting in. Now finding themselves up here, great position, but they see the circle is pulling away from them, making moves with the team right below them. Most Hated still fighting for their lives, and so is Dojo Designful. Getting picked off first once again. Catwalk coming in, and so is the Black Hole. Now enemies in a lot of trouble. Can they get the banner here? Yes, they do. Timmy dancing around here with the passive, seeing if maybe they can get to shields up. Yes, they do. Care package right in front of them as a grenade gets tossed in the direction. They're literally sandwiched here in a worse position, playing off the edge of the circle.
And getting sandwich is going to be a meat sandwich as well as meat lovers try and push up on that position. E8 have been eliminated in the meantime. Another slow game for them. But all I can see in the kill feed at the moment is 30 repeaters picking up kill after kill after kill. It's the teams who are looking out who are causing the problems at the moment, but meat lovers do lose 1. Designful, he's not going to be able to be brought back into this game right now either here for the Dojo. So a 2v2 potential between meat lovers and the Dojo. Fury are now starting to move up a little bit. They've worked their way in towards zone as well. They're holding down the southeastern side of this. Well, southwestern, excuse me, side of this. Stallions and Secret Formula still fighting on the southern side of zone, just behind the Dojo, who are going to be more than aware that this might be KP for them to pick up.
As a duo here, nonetheless, too. And that's with Timmy finally finding Lutz on the other side, tossing out those nades, dancing around the creeping barrage. Has the Thermite ready, waiting patiently. This is going to be crazy here as Secret Formula are also playing this out as a duo. Meat lovers get eliminated in the feed, takes this fight over to the other side. That is DNO, who are now getting involved here. Dojo want to capitalize off of all the KP that they can work with, sitting in second place with 40 points, make it 41, finalizing that last KP.
Well, forget about here's Johnny because it's Timmy. That's what we should be saying right now. Every single time that someone tries to poke and prod, Timmy is holding strong for the Dojo. It's 1 minute and 10 seconds till the zone starts to close. Timmy's going to pick up a little bit extra loot here, which is going to be needed. You can see he's pretty low on ammo as they head towards this zone, but the Dojo have pretty much cleared out that south side now. Secret Formula have 1 player alive, but Furia are on the hunt. They are trying to think about swinging onto them right now, but Timmy at the moment is a 1-man army.
And they're so low off of the initial fight that they just had after taking out Stallions from the lobby, playing on the edge of the rock. Look at Timmy. He's looking to hunt. Timmy is him. He's got the ultimate accelerant, so that way he could get that creeping barrage. Once the circle starts closing in, perhaps, no, he sees the poke approach, sees him poking his head, tries to capitalize off the opportunity. Less than 30 seconds before this circle starts closing behind them. Moby indicated that maybe Dojo could capitalize off of this, sends out that smoke here too. He is him. Can he be Himmy though? Creeping barrage now getting sent out. See if they got the opportunity, but enemy from behind gets caught by Euban.
Even as the solo player alive manages to take him down, and now the Dojo, the keys have been handed over to Timmy. Had to use that ultimate as well just to try and buy a little bit of time. Respawn coming in here. Albrelele will have a part in this endgame, and there's a couple of death boxes in and around the vicinity of Furia. Question is he going to be able to pick something up? Because that zone is closing right behind them. Timmy somehow has managed to kind of avoid everything right now. Look at the placement points he's just picked up by doing that. Noxus gone, Native gone, Right's gone, Shadowman's Prime, Drop-In Gaming all go, and the Dojo are in the top 5.
Everyone dropping like flies, and Furia on the rotate after getting the fresh res. They're still able to access the box at their feet. Catwalk coming in, and Timmy is running for his life. Looked like they wanted to use a black hole, but holding on to it. Panders with the good decision making here. Looking at the other teams also rotating, that's going to be KSR off to their left with the Rampart and the Amp Walls coming in too. I don't know how Timmy is still alive, but he is surviving as a solo. He takes the zipline up north, and now Yuban and him are going to be able to face off, even with the shield swap. Timmy gets the knock and takes out Secret Formula, gets the revenge for his teammate.
Oh my goodness, how is Timmy doing this?
No way.
Without controller, everybody loves watching M&K movement, and Timmy's one of the best in the world at it. He's still alive here. As we have 3 squads remaining. Furia, Team Stability, and it's Himmy if he can pull this one off.
He is him. And the fact that he juked them thinking, I'm not going to go on the gravity lift here. I'm just going to be able to take some extra cover, restabilize. But with the smoke, it's a little bit of an indicator. Zera knows, sends out the spikes in his direction. Timmy's going to take a shot at him. Taking to the skies, though, is an indicator that Fury know exactly where they are, or rather where he is. But they can't drop down here unless they want to try to use the gravity lift again and risk for a third party coming in from Team Stability on the other side.
Timmy can kind of find an ult excel here. He can call some ping. There's no way he gets him in, by the way. There's no way they call this in, right?
No.
It's going to be a little bit of extra cover, surely. You would imagine. If Timmy sticks... It would be the most Timmy thing in the world, by the way, if he goes to stick this reds and pulls it off. I'm just saying.
All right, it's the bait. The circle's closing in. He's got to play for his life at this point. Evac tower coming in. Magnus getting the knock on Sabralele. There's just things falling from the sky out here, too. Trying to greet them, block out their vision with the smoke nades. They know he's right there. They can't give their focus and attention to a rat, though, when they have another squad right in front of them. He's actually going to do it. Are you kidding me?
He's sticking it. It is the most Timmy thing possible. As now Fury are forced down
to
the ground. They are going to fall. Shubi gets the first one for Team Stability. Madness is going to have time here to bat, but Furia from that height are going to have to leave, and that is opening the door for Team Stability. But all of a sudden, it's a 2v2, and here comes Designful. He's got nothing to work with but his fists, but maybe he can do enough to open the door for Timmy here.
Open up the gates here. Timmy's playing off the knockdown. He gets a crack, but right behind him, he's outnumbered. Dojo get eliminated in a fashionable way as Team Stability with just Shubi alive finds himself in a 1v3. Furia with a number advantage and the team fight win, taking game number 4 on Storm Point. The patience wears off, but can you imagine?
Yes, I can, because it's just things that Timmy does. I've watched him play a lot of Apex Legends over the years, and it wouldn't surprise me, even in some of the toughest lobbies in the world, for him to pull off a win in that situation. But it is Furia who is the story that we have to talk about coming out of that game. The question is, have they done enough to get onto match point? We'll have to wait and see how the standings do look after that game is done and dusted. But I mean, one of the craziest things there, Vicky, was the escape from Timmy, where you just saw him decide, this is not a good idea to try and stay alive in this situation, or take this fight, I should say. I'm just going to wrap left, and literally the whole kill feed just lit up, and he went, cool, just got loads of placement points by doing nothing. It was great.
And Furia also put up the cat wall, which actually helped out Timmy. They second guess it, wondering, all right, or should we just fully send it onto him, until they saw the action in front of them, and then did a double take, and then figured out, let's just play for positioning. Let's be able to try to take this game here. Let's not chase, get too ahead of ourselves, but still led up to a great action that we got to see at the very end, and still amazing decision, obviously, that worked into the win that we just saw from Furia. We know that they land right there in Lightning Rod, so they could work their way over from the north side all the way down to the south, where they could play on the edge of the circle, which I believe in their POI, in that game specifically, they didn't have a ring console, so I don't think they had that information. Instead, wanted to wait patiently to see where the circle was going to be pulling, see where everybody else was.
By the way, huge props and shout out to Designful. I love it when players like come into that final zone with nothing, and they're like, I could try and find a loot box, or I could just go down swinging. I mean, it's a great the great thing in life. If you're going to go down swinging. It's as simple as that. And THEIMPACTPLAY almost managed to push a couple of players out of the zone and do the damage for Timmy to clean it up. But Furia do get that win, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, they might be very close, if not on to match point. We'll have to get confirmation of that when we do get those leaderboards in a few seconds time. But I mean, we were talking about Furia and, you know, the team change, everything they've been through in the last few weeks, the disappointment of playoffs, but this will be the perfect way to bounce back, to be the first team to hit match point and then potentially look to convert as well.
Although, because Stallions lived for as long as they did at the very end, we were so fixated on the fight that we were having over by it's Timmy and Furia. Stallions had that fight versus Furia at the very end because Furia got involved into what Stallions had dropped down on in the original fight. That means Stallions are sitting at 54 points. Oof. They are the first team to be sitting at match points here in this lobby. And you are correct, by the way, Onset. With the kills, I think they had 7 KP at the end. We'll have the math sorted out, but that does set up Furia, if the math is correct, right behind Stallions in second place with 48 points. So 2 points away from being at match point 2. We are already starting to iron out the top 10 here for this lobby.
Well, let's take a look at the final circle from the winner's POV. Of course, that's going to be Furia, and break down exactly what we did see, because it was to say it was chaotic would be an understatement and a complete misvalue of the adjective itself. But I mean, Furia, I think the most important thing for them is the moment they took that high ground rock. Right from there, it was very difficult for anyone to really establish any kind of dominance. For a second there, when that knock went in, you were like, oh no, this is starting to fall apart. But they got the res initially onto Albrelelli after he went down, and then they managed to just reset, take their time and pick their moments. And with Timmy on the low ground causing problems, I think Furia's patience game was the thing that won them it.
Yeah, they're not going to give up this ground. Even with Timmy playing right underneath them and knowing exactly where he is, you saw the off-angle attempt from Panders before he managed to just stay put on this ground, trying to pinpoint where Timmy is. But this is the best position to be if you're in Furia's case. You get the high ground, you get to see where the squads are going to be rotating from the back. You get some extra KP while you're at it too with the last 2 remaining squads. And that is a full squad in front of them, so they want to prioritize this Zera going down and still being able to get the reset nonetheless.
Black Hole causing problems again in the end game, showing the value of making sure that Horizon, whoever's playing it for you, is going to have that ultimate ability available. And still, it kind of shocks me that everyone was like, oh, Horizon's now, you know, not as playable when the nerfs came in quite some time ago. I'm like, dude, did you been hit by a black hole recently? Because trust me, that thing still hits. Yes, you're not going to get beamed through the sky, but the dojo, they were eliminated there, and then Furia just moving in after the damage was done. I think Timmy did manage to take one down to the grave with him, which made the job a lot easier for them to convert on. But high ground, always going to be the winner in that situation. 7 kills for Furia in those final moments. Everybody contributing in the damage stats as well.
Wow, basically even across the board here, looking at the damage stats, so close with one another, and you could really see that the cohesion is working together with Furia, with Albrelelli being the newest member of this roster. Nice to see this progress here from Furia, especially since they're now, I believe, situated in 48 points. That also will even themselves out with Dojo, because at the very end with Timmy's survivability, that should set up Dojo to be right alongside Furia. Nice damage here coming in from everybody from this team, but also just the patient play that we're now witnessing from Furia has shifted away from the usual play style of the aggression that we're used to seeing from this team.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more balance here for Furia, and it gives them a little bit of a fallback in certain situations. It's not just see team, push team, win fight, which was so successful for them for so long, but Furia looking like a really well-rounded team at the moment, especially after that win, and they've got a lot more work to do, of course. It's not done yet for them. They still have to progress up those leaderboards if they want to go to the ALGS championships. But speaking of the leaderboards, we will take a look at that in just a few moments time to let you know how the points are stacking up, which teams are on match point, who has the opportunity in this next game to maybe convert into a win. And Vicky, just as again, I feel like just as we're getting started on one map, we switch over next to World's Edge again, so the teams have to rethink. It's kind of a mental test of every facet of Apex Legends for these teams right now.
It's about the whiplash that you have to make when it comes to the adjustments that we're having between 2 maps on Stormpoint, 2 maps onto World's Edge. Well, we're back at home for some of these teams that feel comfortable. Fury do end with the 7 KP that we had seen in total here, as well as the dub that makes it 19 points for them. Team stability coming in second place with those 18 points. They definitely needed that here too. That's a team that is now, I believe, situated in 7th place with 32 total points. Dojo, Timmy as a solo, riding it out to the very end, even getting Design into, even if it means sacrificing 1 extra point, it's okay. Find him in the Pathfinders arena sometime soon, because they were able to stick with the top 3 spots.
Looking at the other side of things, EA, I'm concerned for them at the moment. They really don't look like they are finding any kind of success either in team fights or on the rotates at the moment. Meat Lovers, they've been very, very quiet as well, but they both have the ability to turn games and series around. The problem is, have they got enough points at this point to really give themselves a chance of being one of those teams who can take either first or second? We'll take a look at the overall standings as well so that we can see who is on match point. It's just Stallions at the moment. 54 points. They have match point active. Furia and the Dojo so close, but close is not good enough, Vicky, as we know.
Actually crazy. One team already at match point, but you could still see at least from Furia all the way down to Native Gaming. Heck, you could even throw in Team Stability on there. It takes that one good game to be able to pop off. One team already making their way, though, adds in some extra pressure for the likes of Furia and Dojo, being as close as they are to play a different playstyle, moving onto World's Edge to secure at least match point for that following game.
So our first match point team confirmed. Stallions is going to be that team, but it's time for me to step aside for a man who's a Stallion himself. It's the second time I've used it, and don't worry, it's still got as much value as the first time. It's going to be Rain Day. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mark. You know, I'm not even mad at you telling me to come back at this point, because that line, I'll just take it every time. Of course, I'm going to bring back Vicky to cast along with me here in Game 5. And, you know, you just had a ton of time speaking about this. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of weight off your shoulder, give my thoughts as well, because I didn't have a chance to react to what I saw It's Timmy do. And one of the bigger points about that, which I'm sure the chat went crazy over or is about to go over, as we are on a little bit of a delay here, so we see the action first. I think that you do start to look at how this meta in Apex has shifted away from mouse and keyboard being the dominant input. And it's not to say MNK versus controller as we jump into match 5 here with one team, Stallions, on match point, the ability to close it out here and see if it'll be a nice fight between Dojo and Furia for second place, like we had a tie for second, and it had to be the biggest game to do it last time. But as the teams leave the dropship, I kind of want to open back up this conversation of the fact that Timmy is showcasing why MNK is valuable. It's that movement. And when you have a player who's known for being able to get out of sticky situations and just survive, sometimes that extra bit, that extra tap strafe is enough to force a team like Furia to just say, we're not going to pay attention to you right now. We're going to focus on bigger problems. It didn't do enough to ultimately get him into match point. But man, it was about as close as possible. I am going to continue, as I know Vicky's done a great job of casting as well. I'm going to lead you into these drop teams, and she'll be right back in just a moment. But let's take a look at this map as we see it already sending over into staging. And I think that this is going to be a very interesting conversation in terms of our team. A Southern Circle, possibly. As we know, Furia landing on Climatizer. Will they have a difficult time heading down into the south? Also, teams that we've come in highlighting, Meat Lovers. They're dealing with Trials and Skyhook with Most Hated, hopefully getting out of that northern side and running not into Ape Gang or Flat, but seeing if they can push past that and maybe with an evac tower, rotate early into zone. For those joining us as well, this has been a fantastic showcase of our new LCQ format, which right now, even though we are in Game 5, if it ended with our team, Stallions, taking this win, we would still play Game 6, which is one of those things that is extremely important to note. Even if it ends here, we still play one more. And of course, with Vicky joining us back in, a well-deserved minute-and-a-half rest there, as you've now done 2 games in a row, just setting up what we're seeing on the map as Dojo find themselves in a really nice spot, with Thermal Station possibly being where this game ends.
Wow, is the script writing itself? I was hearing you, Rain Day, talk about the movement and what mouse and keyboard could provide in terms of the flexibility that the movement comes with that output. And, you know, going into my early Apex days, looking at players like Timmy, Asu, being able to see Fade, being able to move the way that they do, it's always so entertaining to see the ability of how quick they get out of bad situations and how they break necks, fooling around a lot of these other teams and being able to slip away. Always so fun to watch, especially in the old construction site building. But the fact that we get to watch it here in this lobby, playing out full force, is always so enjoyable too. You see it already. The circle prioritizing Dojo, and some of these teams wasted no time on their rotate too. Over to the north side, you already see Dojo here. Yer is starting to fly in, E8 as well. Native Gaming, Noxious, so many squads with the quick rotate because some of these teams, now recognizing that there's already a squad at match point, want to so desperately also start racking up the KP that they need if they could find some of these squads that are late rotating through these choke points.
A lot of patience going to be required by Aporia and Dojo as well. Aporia in 10th place, obviously a lot to do now and maybe needs to be more aggressive considering the fact that second is the only way, or of course first, to get into the ALGS championships. Dojo in a completely opposite situation. They only need 2 points to have a chance to win it all. But if they're playing zone this early, not rotating, they're going to have to sit in a building for a long time to get 2 placement points. That's going to have to be at least 10 teams down. And so they will have to avoid conflict somehow and also do it with potentially limited gear in terms of rotation. So we'll wait and see and pick back up with them as, of course, 20 squads still alive and well. We see this oftentimes, Vicky, especially when these zones are a little bit more predictable. Teams make their rotations early, but also teams perfectly fine not taking too many risks as they can kind of already at least predict where things are going to end up for the most part.
Especially when you have the legends that have been making a high appearance being Catalyst. Native, though, playing off the low ground, having to be careful. This does work out having the Caustic, but you hear what's floating around, and Deary, would that be ashamed if these Caustic barrels just get griefed by an EMP? But I'm not expecting that EMP to be unleashed anytime soon because there's more squads in the area. So if they do unleash that EMP, that just could be a green light for other teams to take advantage of the position that Native Gaming is there. They do see the evac tower also from afar, just maybe seeing if they could take some easy shots before the other teams do. But look how many teams are already here in this circle.
It reminds me of NRG Sweet Dreams and a sweet dream of Sheila. Boy, oh boy, what a fun time that was at playoffs. Dropping in with the mobile respawn beacon and using 2 ulted cells to get the only weapon possible back, the ultimate. I was also thinking to myself, what other character could do it? No other character. And then I thought, oh wait, Vantage exists. We just don't see her very often in competitive. One of those bigger conversations that maybe in a moment where it's not match point, we can dive into.
Ooh.
Right now, though, Rise trying to dive out of this trouble. Good response with the car. I think maybe instinctually stop that res because, of course, Seer used to cancel the res before. Now it just silences, so we'll not stick it either way. Awope looking to lean left with the Prowler. It's got some vision with the exhibit, Vicky, but hesitant to push around this corner.
His toe was, oh my goodness, the nade.
Oh,
we're seeing fights on different angles. Yes, they are able to maintain now all the way through to get that match point. Dojo doing here. And on the other side, while we take a look at both of these team fights, it's a whiplash real quick, going back and forth. Most hated are going to be able to walk away, literally running away because the 30-30 is to their backs and they do not want to be caught in the line of sight here. Meanwhile, Dojo in a worse situation, but playing off the back end of the stairwell are going to be able to add in the extra pressure. He is literally one, and they have so many shield swaps to work with in this building.
Wow, the enemy of enemy is my friend. We finally got it right, but at this point, enemy has no friends in this building as Elevator trying to take it away and find their space next to Dojo in the chaos of what will be potentially the end zone of this game. But Timmy and enemy somehow outlast and outplay that situation. So there are at least still 2 members of Dojo remaining. Vicky, you could say that it's not necessary, but my goodness, I told you they were going to have to survive for a while and be patient. Well, one of those things was right because patience isn't needed at all. They need to go because people are coming for their spots.
Everyone's landing. It's a burn to play. No, it's about 3 other squads making their way through, forcing their way into the building. E8, Naughty gets the first knock. Amazing trade here. Look how low he is. He's got the Phoenix hit ready to reset here. I love these 2 buildings north of Thermal Station. This is where most of my clips come from, and this is why we love to see some of these teams take advantage of the positions that they can hold. Even with the piercing spikes here, throwing out the gravity lift to block out that doorway, prevent these teams from being able to come in. The reinforce as well. E8 are safe for now.
My goodness, this is just chaos. True chaos in every form and meaning of the word. but it has resulted in one of the two teams still there. It's Timmy and Enemy have found a way, though they are down a player, to stay in that building. They might have actually, I think they actually rotated buildings, to be fair. I think they're in the building Aporia started in. However, now it is E8 having a little bit of resurgence. 19th position with only 10. We expected a lot more from Zach's team. You know, one of those players that has been iconic in the Apex Legends scene. His personality, his presence, his ability to compete at a high level has had a little bit of a rough go over these last few months, finding that right squad. Can E8 be it, Vicky? Certainly want to position themselves in a power spot, and they, I think, have done so right now. And congratulations to them surviving the chaos. My goodness, that's Apex for you.
For now, at the very least. Only securing 1 KP, but they'll make do with what they have at the very least, especially being in 19th in this lobby right now, as we see the side-by-side of not only the squads that are holding that choke to the north side of Thermal Station, exiting out of Mirage Trois, but also where it's going to be pulling by staging. BIL got the download on that, and they're actually in a really good spot. Really, the squads that are going to be slow rotating into that next circle, and Ape Gang being right to their north, the two teams they really have to focus on. The third from Ape is making their way right over to rejoin the rest of the squad, and we have a res. Did we just see the res come out right now from Dojo? It looks like they may have pulled it off on the outskirts of that fence.
Listen, Temmie pulled off the res by himself with Furia staring down just inches away. You think in a room he's not going to try to pull that res off? I'm sure it could be going down. Luxfordy, though, seems to be the one that was trying to come back into the game. Native is going to take him down just as fast as he got revived. Mamba doing the work with the Nemesis. Such a deadly weapon and such a priority here in this current season of Apex. And we cannot wait to continue to see how this meta develops. Ape Gang on high in 16th place with 15 points, and now 15 squads remaining with round 2 about to close in, and a fight for survival. That tower at the bottom of Thermal Station held with Mamba and Acoustic. Vicky, that is going to be a tough fight for any team who wants to try to get to that central part of the zone.
Luxfordy is still alive. The gold knockdown coming in clutch from Meat Lovers. Does he have anything to work? Okay, there you go. That's a good teammate right there. I was wondering if he had anything to work with here. He's got the Prowler.
Nah.
And let's see if he can make magic happen. It's just the position that they're in is a very... Oh, they did try doing it, but putting down the beacon right in the line of sight of E8, they're not going to let you get away with that for free. Even with a drone, they're going to know exactly where they're at.
And this is the benefit of having crypto, right? Because a lot of people do want to take advantage of getting into zone at a high-level competitive situation and then being able to, you know, have a fight but then retreat to your building, because it's better for both teams if they don't try to finish a fight now and they last until a top 10. But how are you going to get outside? And if you do, you try to revive, you're going to get pushed like this. And it's just a matter of numbers here. There was no way Dojo could survive a coordinated push by E8, and that is exactly what we were waiting for. Naughty, Chaotic, and Zach Mazer show up. They wake up the lobby. They shut down Dojo, but they'll be happy, Dojo, just to wait till next round when they can really show up and claim match point. That's assuming Stallions don't take it in this game, Vicky.
The deed is done for them for now, and so is the deed for Furia, because they are also at match point as we welcome another team into the 50-point gang. Furia playing inside this building is also a really smart option, because playing off this position alone, you could allow yourself to be away from the chaos that's going to come once these squads have to filter out of Thermal Station, while not only having to be in the line of sight of the teams that are still in staging, secured themselves inside this building. But the one thing that they don't have is where that next ring is going to be pulling, and it is going to be pulling away from them. They could play by the train tracks, but it's about waiting for the teams to have to funnel outside of Thermal, so that way they don't get pushed and then pinched in a sandwich situation.
I mean, it's a great play when you look at where E8 are. Zach having taken that building, they're actually in the building best position to now rotate and see where the zone pulls. And these hardcore thermal teams like DNO and like Native, they're going to have to push away. Even Stallions is going to have to make their way north now. And it is a very difficult climb outside of Thermal Station if you are not prepared and if you don't time it right. The time may be now as 55 seconds are on the clock for round 3. Mamba throwing the Costa cans, but he's going to have to leave that territory pretty soon. They're just trying to find the right way to push and climb out of this lava pit of death. as DNO on top of them, kind of overseeing the journey. And they're happy to wait here for now because at least they've got vision on the rest of the lobby.
Luxford not having a good time. Meat lovers get taken out of the lobby, playing off not the best position when you're playing off that low ground of thermal station. You can see the pings too coming in from DNO. They know that there's a squad right below them. They've been hearing those caustic barrels getting put out constantly too, and they also have the ring console in their line of sight. Thing is, in the next 13 seconds, they're gonna have to start moving. That circle will be closing in right behind them, and they're trying to ping where they can rotate to.
Stallions are leaders in the lobby, the only team that can take match point and close out at least their chance right now to secure their spot in championships. However, for those just joining us, it still means we will play a game 6 because we are guaranteed to go 6 in order to find out our true second place. So it will give all of your fan favorites, if they aren't Stallions, a chance to do it next game. But Stallions can put that clock, that timer on, and as we walk with them, as they walk their way from danger to even more danger, let's take a listen in to see how our #1 squad, our only team this match on match point, navigate the situation.
We can play under if we need. Did someone take our spots there? 101! Oh. Yeah, you have to play safe, bro. Like...
Me comes.
Yeah. Damn, there's so much space back here, bro.
Smoke pretty good.
Well, I can't say that that was the most informative listen in. It did, however, give us a lot of information visually, Vicky, as they lost 2 players the second I threw it to them. So Mark was worried about the caster curse. I think mine was a little bit activated a little bit quicker than I expected.
A little frame perfect there, Rain Day. Right when we decided to see how the rotation was going to go, DNO was right there, and they had no idea. Xenox being on the Seer is going to be able to call them out right there, too. So now playing off this low ground. The dream is still alive. We go on to another game here with more teams making their appearance into match point.
Will we look back at that moment for Stallions fans and say that was an opportunity that was missed? You know this is a tough climb, but if you pay attention to that's the moment that you've got to survive. Don't worry about this final circle. You've just got to get out of the pit of Thermal Station. That could set themselves up for an opportunity that is so elusive to be on match point with no one else contesting you. I'm not sure it's over. Stallions still have Stallions and K, but that could be over as I speak. I am caster cursing the heck out of Stallions. I'm sorry, guys, but at least you don't have to worry about it because you're all dead right now.
And I think you're just cursed all of Stallions.
I mean, I'm just gonna stop talking about him at this point.
Now you're just benefiting DNO, which is actually the second team that I've had on my sides. Always love to see the support when we see Doob come out in full form. Every single individual player on this team is so talented, finding some room here before they could gravity lift right back onto the high ground here from Lou. See where the next move is going to be, because look who is right next to them. It's going to be Yer on the other side, but DNO may find themselves pinched. On the right side, it's going to be Secret Formula.
Secret Formula, they've had a good showing earlier today. They won game #2 with a nice win and 9 KP on top of it, giving them 21 points overall. So can they replicate something like that? DNO, though, stand in the way of the entire lobby with a nice Dark Veil coming through from Duplex. Formerly the Optic Man, representing DNO now, hits a couple of nice shots, ringing with the car. How can he keep it going, though, here, Vicky, as he's finding that piercing spikes a little tankier than he may have expected. Fighting into a corner should prove valuable, but they've got to make a play, and Lou, he's the last one standing. Can he clutch it up? He cannot, and DNO fall.
And it's because of the squad on the other side that are going to capitalize. Secret Formula, you heard the PK shots ringing through the air. Yer's going to find themselves back in the lobby alongside DNO. Those thermites were insane on the other side. Meanwhile, the thermites are also lighting up the sky here too for Euban to just loot up everything that is left from these death boxes. A little graveyard at their feet. Meanwhile, the black market is activated behind them, and Secret Formula are going to go shopping before they rotate through that next choke point.
This is where you want a massive knuckle cluster, but instead of that damage over time, you want just a big AoE explosion, just a big little burst right where you see those teams clumped up, because it was so juicy. But a car, only one bullet can hit at a time, and unfortunately, it was just a matter of numbers. Too many teams shooting at TNO. They'll go back to the drawing board, and the issue is they're not on match point, so they'll have to wait yet another game and yet another map change to be able to have a chance at victory. ASR, nice spot in the zone. They are firmly cemented into it, and probably one of the most ideal trailers that you could be in. With all the action up on top, it's certainly a chance for Furia and, of course, Secret Formula to add a lot of points here, though, coming from high ground.
It's the cat wall activated in front of them. Secret Formula trying to take this safely, get as much information as they can with the seer attack. But since that's on cooldown now, they're going for the approach, seeing that it's already been used on the other side. Saberlele getting another knock in the feed. The Thermite capitalizing. Only inside these train cars. They see the spikes too. Where do they go from here as the creeping barrage also makes its way in? Secret Formula have to drop off from this high ground here. Maybe trying to go for a wall. Where was it? Please, over to the left side. There's a team over to their left. Trying to block out the vision from maybe Noxus, who's also on the train tracks.
Round 5 closing. 5 seconds left to get a little bit of the damage done. Euban from around the way connects. Global shots in terms of distance from the G7 Scout. And with 70 left in the magazine, he's got plenty more to be able to finish off one. He's one shot away. A piercing spike. Hail Mary, trying to see if it lands. Not quite yet. He'll do it one more time. Ooh. This one will get close. But again, no cigar, as they will then find a way to at least maintain status quo. No one is down, Vicky. It's a good spot. We're in a top 5. But it's about to be chaos, because where do you play from this? KSR still with a very envious position with maybe the only cover in the middle of the zone.
The moment that zone starts closing in right behind Secret Formula, they're going to be sitting ducks in the next 30 seconds here, dropping off the high ground into the low ground, into everybody's line of sight. Wondering if they're able to get that cat wall online already quick enough. Ooh, the bow check too. Hiding up the sky. 5 squads left. ApeGang in such a good spot on this high ground. They have some natural cover off the top. Once he wants to go back up again with the gravity lift, gets a quick scope here, it looked like maybe. Even maybe a shield back here too. Oh yes, he's got only 35 bullets, 10 in the reserve here for the Prowler. That's definitely what he's going to be working with here too. Yeah, good call out on there. Gets right back on top of the high ground here with the gravity lift. And holding this position and looking at his other teammates, they're playing split up. They get another knock, and that's exactly what we were expecting once that zone was going to close in right behind Secret Formula.
I mean, now it's just a matter of being spoiled for choice. You have so many options. You just have to make sure that you can get it done. You only have 2 reloads now of your Nemesis to be able to do damage. You got Wi-Fi down below trying to be involved, but look at Bursty on kick on the fuse. He's going to play a massive role here in this fight, allowing Thales to figure this out and push with the Prowler. They've got very minimal room for error, but I think they can do it, especially with their position right now, Vicky. It is just a matter of closing it out. They will have a win, and with 31 points, 2 squads left, they could easily be in the 40-point range if they can close this one out.
ApeGang need this, and they are in the best position to work with on this high ground. Furia making their way now over. BIL playing off the low ground. ApeGang get the memo. They drop down. They want an invite to the party here too. And what is left is cleaned up. ApeGang are your winners for game number 5.
There's no better way to have played that circle from ApeGang, and they almost timed it out so perfectly that it felt like it was too easy. Like, that's not how that fight should have gone. It wasn't a fight, and that's just because of the timing and the position, even the utilization of the micro to get enough bullets, one more round from the crafter to finish off pressuring with the Nemesis and have enough in the Prowler to drop down. It was a beautiful micro showcase, but it was also just a great position from early on. ApeGang played their cards right, and Vicky, that is how you get it done. A big win from them, and we will go again. No match point winners this time around.
And I was paying close attention to the way that Ape had made that rotation, because they played split up originally where 2 were holding the choke point north of Thermal Station since they didn't have the ring console yet. But their 3rd stayed behind in Lava Fissure where their POI is, where they did have a ring console, waited to the 3rd last circle to get the information, and then predicted where it was going to pull all the way to staging, whereas a lot of the other teams that we saw were stuck in the chaos of Thermal Station. So holding on to that high ground, having the positional advantage, and accruing all the KP that they did. I believe they finished with like 12 kills at the end of that game. So ApeGang, they needed that game and they secured it.
Yeah, they were on 30-something, 31 maybe, so they weren't in a position to get to match point, but they definitely could have gotten all the way up to 40-something, maybe 41 too. We'll have to wait and see as we take a look at the final circle here. We'll be able to get some stats for you probably off the top of our head as we run through it. I talked about position. I talked about micro. You saw Ape Gang right here. This is after Thales goes and gets a little bit more damage in terms of bullets in the magazine for the Nemesis. It pays off immediately, Vicky, as they continue to threaten from high ground.
That weapon, my games, brings tears to my eyes, and it's doing the same thing here, as we can see. That catwall isn't going to protect you. Even if they can't see, they know where you are in that position. And they made sure it was a nail in the coffin, too. You even see the mother load over to the left side. Love these shots from the high ground here. A sitting duck. Just presenting your head on a platter here for Thales to be able to take advantage of. Waiting out on the fight, too. Not dropping down preemptively. You see the communication and the pings here from the team to focus on one squad hugging the edge of the circle and to finishing off the team that was left right below them. Playing this patiently and not trying to get ahead of themselves.
And the truth is, was this a solo or was this a duo down below who finished that fighting? Because we know they cleaned up the last team. How many kills do they get on the other team? Right now, they're sitting with 7 in total. We'll see how that cleans up. They definitely get close to about 41 points, I would say, maybe 38, but 24, one of our biggest games of the day in North America, and 12 kills, 12 placement points. That has got to send you going into game 6 real happy, Vicky, with Bill, Furia, KSR, and Secret Formula following in terms of placement, but big shout outs to DNO and Ur, who have massive games in terms of kills.
Also big for Furia to be able to get the placement points and the 2 KP on top of that. I do believe that has elevated Furia to that #1 spot. Although we do want to see our match point team take the dub, let's not forget, it's the top 2 squads that make their way into the champs. That's what these teams are playing for. Aside from getting that first place spot, you want to be able to have all those points that you could work with there on the top end of the leaderboard.
I mean, it's pretty amazing that we look at Furia, and the way we found out really about Furia was the LCQ of last year. Seeing this team rise up from this position to claim 2nd place at the biggest tournament in the world, we said that could be the story of a team like a Go Next or Licite de France who qualified in EMEA. Now it has a chance to be Furia's story again. But the big changes are, of course, Albrelelli coming in with Panders and Zeratricky with is Watson taking a break from competitive. We don't know if it's a full retirement. We don't know if he'll be back, but we do know that he's not here now as we take a look at our 3 teams on match point. One of these teams will not be going to championships. That is a scary and crazy thought, Vicky, because at this point, they have all played so well.
This lobby is so stacked, and look how close it is to between Secret Formula, even all the way down to Team Stability, working with those 33 points. There's that slight gap between Stability and Native Gaming, but so many individual players are talented in this lobby. DNO are right there with 47 points. Can they put themselves at match point, or is it too little too late as we go on to game number 6 on World's Edge?
Ape Gang surely do themselves a favor. 38 points. That means one big game, another 24-point game. That puts them at 42, 62 points. They would be in first place, and that would even give them a cushion for Fury to get an extra 5 points in this next game. So I think that there's a lot of teams chasing this. 3 teams on match point. They've got to close it out, where the competition is coming right there, right soon, to be able to finish it out themselves. So make sure you stay tuned. We've got game 6 coming up. We're going to go to break here. Rain Day and Vicky on the cast. We'll let Mark and Dan, possibly somebody else, I know, we're going to take a break. I am, and get back for some more action here with Match Point Finals.
welcome back everybody to the ALGS North American LCQ. There was a lot of acronyms to get out there, but we got it done, Dan. And there might be an opportunity for one of these teams to get it done in this next game. We're heading into match number 6 now. 2 teams on match point. Do you think it's going to get done early here? Do you think we're going to be done? Do you think maybe possibly someone might get this done?
Maybe
what do you think?
we could get a little bit done in match 6. And you know
3 teams on match point.
There's 3 teams on match point. Yeah, I was about to say that we have a chance for one of our big 3 to maybe do it here at match number 6. As Rain Day quite rightly alluded to, one of these teams is not going to make it, which is kind of crazy considering how well they've all been playing across this weekend. And of course, there are still teams who are within touching distance of match point that could shake things up. DNO being one of the big heavy hitters. It's World's Edge once more to try and see if we can grab a winner here in match 6 or whether we're going to go to match number 7.
Well, good news is not too many contests here on World's Edge. We do know that, so everyone's going to have someone to land and play this game out. The real question, like we've mentioned, though, is this going to be the last game of the evening? Are we going to know who our 2 teams are that go through to represent North America in the ALGS Championship? That's what it's all about here, everybody. That's why we're here, and that is about as central zone as you will find on World's Edge. Oh, and then we even get the beacon information to show us it's even more central. Fragment is going to be the place to play. Those chokes just to the south of that zone outside of Geyser and north of Lava Siphon going to be vital to play as well, Dan.
Yeah, and it's a pretty fair zone, I could say, from the teams that are on match point. Furia from Climatizer, Stallions from Stacks, and Dojo from Thermal. 3 of our kind of edge POIs all are going to have to rotate into a central zone just from different directions. So that's good news, is they're not going to fight each other early. Maybe they can all find a position in Fragment, but it depends how quickly they move. Furia do have a ring console to work with, as do Dojo. I don't think that Stallions do down at Stacks. I can't quite see it. Maybe one of them is covering it. Oh, no, looks like they may as well. So good news for all of their POIs. They have something to work with.
How many times do we see things end on this zone, by the way? You know what I mean? It's just, this zone's got something about it, everyone. I'm just saying, this zone has got something about it. Maybe a secret formula. Hey, see what I did there? Monument is going to be where they are currently transferring their bodies over to. Dropping Gaming working their way to Monument as well, looking to hit that ring console. But I think eyes on Furia here. Fragment zone, if they can get up on that height outside of Fragment to the north, on those on that big ridge outside of Epicenter, they might be able to pick off a couple of teams and get some early KP. The question is, are they going to be able to work their way through Fragment here, Dan? Because working your way through Fragment, even though there's buildings to be played, we know how tough it is to leave once you're in there and everyone starts to stack up.
Yeah, really tough rotation for some of these teams, but it's about how quick you can move, as Noxious are laying down some suppressing fire at the moment. They have the height advantage over towards Harvester, but whether they commit to this will be another question entirely. It is a somewhat isolated fight, but whether they actually want to take it or not will have to remain to be seen.
Looks like the evac tower is going to be the play instead here for Noxious. 21 points for them so far, still some way off of match point. Their job right now is to try and keep this lobby going. Looking at the kill feed, though, you can see a couple of knocks coming in from Shuby, so he's doing what he can to try and get this lobby moving a little bit. 2 players going to be eliminated early. Noxious now making their way towards zone and should have some good prior. This is a good decision to leave Harvester, hit that evac tower and get ahead of the traffic, because now they are in a priority position. But we do know how tough this place is to hold down, Dan. Yes, you have some rocks to play, but the height differential between teams coming through that choke and the position that you're holding down can be difficult to fight with sometimes with those teams coming in late.
Yeah, it depends whether they want to keep going with their rotation or whether they will just try and hold those rocks. Now, DNO are in a spot where we've seen a lot of teams try and hold for this zone time and time again. Not as easy with the composition that they have. I mean, Watson usually helps, as Zapora have lost 1, make it 2 that they've lost, and it is going to be all 3 of them down at 1, 2, and 3, as Yer will get the kills, and they will push themselves up to 15 points. So it's still a long way to go for them to get anywhere near match point, as they are very hesitant at the moment, thinking there could be a third party.
You can see just some shots being exchanged. It will have a bit of time to reset here, so it should be able to at least be guns up if someone does come in for that third party. But to be honest, it looks like are alone at Harvester at the moment, so they can take their time having won that fight. Chadamus Prime had rotated in the choke just ahead of them towards zone, and I tell you what, it is looking very busy already. You can see Native holding down those crates early. That's where we expect maybe this end zone to pull towards. That's where we've seen a lot of finishes outside of Fragment. But Native holding down this choke, I would say this is the priority position. This is where we saw Luminosity Gaming win one of those this zone on LAN just a few weeks ago. Was it a week ago? A few weeks ago now?
It was a week ago, mate.
It's a week ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Time's fast. Oh, you can't be looting and get trapped in a box.
It'll be all right. One of the reasons why
it'll be all right. Tap on the back.
Can work out for you.
Not be get clean. Oh, no.
Not a huge... Oh, God, he's going back. It'll be all right. We don't see loads of race nowadays, but
turns out he was all right.
Turns out he was okay. Ape Gang eliminated, even despite their victory in the previous game. They will bow out at the early stages, will not get to match point here in match number 6, so they'll have to sit back, watch, and hope that we carry on going into match 7. But yeah, you made a good point about the areas that people are holding. You know, it's doable, but usually without the likes of a Watson, without the likes of a Newcastle, which some of these teams on LAN did have to hold these spots, it suddenly becomes a lot more tough to actually be able to hold out. You need to have good suppressing fire if you are going to be holding this. You need to be scaring other teams away from you so they don't just walk up on you too comfortably.
Well, Fury have worked their way just into the respawn village to the east of Fragment at the moment. I keep wanting to say they'll be all right now. I've got it in my head. They'll be all right. They'll be all right. It's probably one of the best things you've said.
Maybe I should just coach a couple of teams at LAN, and every single time that they lose one, you'll be all right.
You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Fragment is currently getting very busy. You can see that right now. Noxious are in there. Secret Formula, Chadamus Prime, all involved. You have Fury at Team Stability. They're holding down the respawn village just next to them at the moment. Rise are moving their way from Epicenter at the moment. And Stallions, the team, one of our 3 teams who are on match point, they're kind of playing this a little bit slower at the moment. The second place overall, just kind of leaving Lava Siphon at the moment. And trying to see if there's anyone to hold out for them. Maybe to just think about picking up some extra points. They certainly don't have prio to this zone. A lot of teams ahead of them at the moment.
Yeah, the best position from one of our match point squads would be Furia. They have found themselves at least in that next circle, whereas both Stallions and Dojo are going to have to move on in. I mean, Dojo have got to move a lot further, but at least Stallions are within touching distance of this zone. It's a really tough position to be in because we mentioned this during EMEA. Yes, you're on match point, and yes, you want to play it safely because you want to win the game and you want to get into one of those priority positions. But at the same time, if you don't get enough points and one of the other teams does reach match point and does conclude everything here at match number 6, you could not qualify. So it is a really difficult thing to try and balance as we're having, again, more action going down here at Fragment as a few teams are just trying to contest one another for a couple of these buildings.
And you can see that Yara is trying to pick up the KP on the outside of this building. The car's going to hit pretty hard there from Miles, but not get that knock. Now they're going to have to reinforce, take control of the doors once more and retreat back up to the second floor. But the difficulty of Fragment, like I mentioned, it feels like, yeah, we've got a great spot to play from. But when there's 3 or 4 other teams trying to play the same buildings, the same spots, and then you have to leave, someone has to die. Most hated might be that first team to die. As you can see, Dynasty is stuck under these tracks. And again, it's McLovin this time. But the same weapon that we've seen so many times in that kill feed, the 30-30 really is ripping through bodies today.
It really is destroying when it's in the right hands. And at the moment, again, we see someone else go down and McLovin will fall. A nice little response from Laser, but I don't think it will be enough to win the engagement. Yeah, should still be fine here in Fragment. All the meanwhile, by the way, Stallions started to move on down to the south. They went back to Lava Siphon to get a survey beacon so they could get more information as to where teams were residing and where they might be able to push. So that's an interesting strategy and probably the correct one considering the spot that they were in, just to give them that little extra bit of info. But looks like are going to be okay after the little engagement they had. They got a couple of KP on the board and now they can sit tight and pretty for quite some time.
18 squads now remaining. Most of the kills we've seen and we've caught early on in this game. But it's the end game that's really important here. Who is going to be the team to come out on top? Stallions, one of the match point teams. You mentioned their rotation. Well, it looks like they're heading towards Geyser at the moment. And with the information they have, they're probably thinking about wrapping all the way through to the Vault Tunnel. They know that DNO, well, they're going to know A team, I should say, is holding down the choke in front of them right now. Funk's going to try and scout this out, having just hit that survey beacon. But one thing they can do is probably wrap through the Vault Tunnel and find a building in the respawn village to play. Or just do that. That's as simple as possible. Force them down away from that choke and take it for your own.
Meat have just lost one, or Meat Lovers have lost one. Flat. Looking to try and do some damage as the R99 does what it always does, and it'll be the initial opener onto Luxford. And now it means that Meat Lovers will fall in 18th position, so we won't see Meat Lovers get any closer to match point. There's not been the same kind of performance from them that we've seen throughout the previous matches here in the LCQ. In the winner's bracket, they did so well. They came in 3rd position, but have not been able to get going today.
The Stallions have kind of found a place to play. DNO are holding them out at the moment, and this is a really, really interesting fight because you can see the armor advantage is certainly with Stallions on that low ground, but DNO have the height. The problem for them is resources. I mean, you're looking across at the moment, already being shared out here between them. DNO made that quick rotate to hold this down, knowing it's a priority position. Lose some fantastic shots with that Nemesis, but Stallions are going to make the play here. They are throwing everything at this. This could be a potential game-winning play if they can win this fight, but the black hole doesn't do the damage it needs to. We'll jump into a listening with Stallions as they try and force the pace here.
Yeah, I'm joining. Slide back down. I'm joining here. Come down.
Are you guys clear?
Yeah, I'm fine.
They're sliding.
Wait, come down.
One shot, dead.
Dead.
On me.
Flush.
They're coming. Oh, man.
Bro.
I clipped one, bro. We gotta look for that, man.
It was a short listening, Dan, but Stallions eliminated on match point, which means DNO now hit 50 themselves, and they will be on match point as well. Important kills for them, but it was a risky play. They tried to kind of throw all their eggs in one basket, but this time it doesn't come off.
DNO, match point as you said, but they can't win it in this game. So now they just have to try and deny both Furia and Dojo after denying Stallions. So 1 is down, 2 more to go. Speaking of Dojo, they're still having a jolly old time at the moment, still in the zone over towards Harvester. They do have a ring console here in Harvester as well that they can use if they would like to, just to get that extra information as they progress over towards Fragment. Now the circle is going to be going to the train tracks, so it's not the worst pull for Dojo. They've had a pretty good
pull for Dojo, yeah.
If it had gone southeast and gone towards the likes of Native and DNO, Dojo probably would have a difficult time winning this game. But with it pulling to the southwest, it means if Dojo win one fight on their approach here, they might find themselves in one of the better positions.
Pretty crazy how one zone shift can change the complexion of the match. We were talking about Fury being in a good spot a few moments ago. If we were thinking it was going to pull towards those blue crates, but then you see that shift just to the left of where we were expecting it, and now the Dojo get that opener onto Bill. Now they can push. This is their opportunity. Listening is ready. Let's go into the comms of the Dojo, see how they push this.
Teammates off. Watch our back now.
I'm holding anchor. I'm not forward. I need to get spikes up, but I'm not forward right now.
I'm good. He's got a volt and everything. They're looking to come towards us. Crack, 90 on bang, gold.
Careful, you're right.
That guy's a good angle. We are good. It's the duo. Keep watching our back though. They're getting pinched. They're getting pinched.
I'm watching.
I'm just saying he's 1 HP. Yes, we just gotta hard watch our back. We can't push any further than this.
100 on cat. They're backing up.
Can't lose any trades here.
3 bets.
I'm taking that off.
I have no digi. That might be bad.
I'm here.
Do you want? I can play this right rock until zone goes.
No.
No, okay.
You do not want to be that far split. I don't want him to do. I'm grabbing. There's hella nades in here. Yep. Evac right here too. Popping 2 cells. I'm gonna have 5.
One takeaway from that listening, Dan, is, Dojo recognize the situation. Yes, they get the knock. That allows them to move into a safe spot, but they constantly were talking to each other. I think it was designed for in the comms saying, stay close to each other. Do not put yourself in a position that one of us can get singled out. Play tight, and from there, we're going to be in a position, if we have to fight, that we can all support each other.
And just be well aware of who's coming behind them. And it was E8, but they backed E8 off, and now E8 are pushing up onto Native here and looking to see if they can maybe grab a spot in this chokehold. But it looks like even with the Dark Veil being down and the counter Dark Veil, it's too much for them to even think about trying to push it. They're so vulnerable and blind as they push up that hill. As in the kill feed, Furia have lost 1. Albrelli's gone down. It's Pandas and Zeratriki now left as a 2 to try and do the job here for Furia.
Really, really tough run this for Furia. Are they going to try and grab this banner? Can they get Albrelli back into this game? Is there a mobile res available? It looks like they're being baited for that banner. They didn't manage to get the pickup either. And now Furia have to retreat, but they're getting shot from so many angles at the moment. This could be the end of the road here for Furia, unless Pandas can do something special here. Has a little bit of cover, but not enough to keep him alive. Zeratricky now last alive for Furia. One of our match point teams looks like they're about to fall here.
Furia do go down, so now all attention turns back to the Dojo, our last match point team who can win in this game. As Rise will also be the next team to be eliminated. E8 still kind of posturing up, still having a little old look towards the likes of Native, but Native lost some. Team stability are down to 1. Bill are also in the area, so there's a lot of squads who are weak in this choke point.
Dojo have zone, by the way.
Dojo
Bill was the
zone.
team, the duo who were holding them out, and now Dojo have complete control of zone. They have access, they have the height, they have the rocks. Dojo could do this. It's a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, with 12 squads remaining. Someone could send it onto them, but Dojo are in a great spot right now to win this game.
And if Dojo were to win the game, of course, second place would be the highest points total. At the moment, Furia are leading on 58, but DNO are still alive, and DNO are on 52. So Furia, it's going to be a nervy game and a nervy watch for them, because only, 7 points required for DNO to overtake Furia, and Dojo could still win off the back of that as well. So a lot to do still for Dojo, though. Even though they have a good position, and yes, they have access to that zone, it's somewhat of an exposed one. There are certain angles they can be shot from. They have the big rock they can play on that left-hand side for now, and Flat are just going to be on the other side of the train track. So that's going to be their first point of contact here.
Yeah, you got to think that's their worry. You can see they're also extremely worried about someone wrapping behind them. 2 players went to look at that to make sure it was clear, and now knowing it is clear with the zone closing, the Dojo only have to focus forward. E8 trying to force their way forward themselves, though. Dark Veil going to go down as they try and find a place to play in zone. The Dark Veil going to come up a little bit short here, which is going to leave them exposed, and Noi's going to find that out for himself. This is a tough spot for E8 to survive.
Yeah, really difficult as they're being shot from several angles at the moment, but the back could get the reset for them as we still get another little look as to where the Dojo are going to hold, the rocks that they can play. And they can just scout out several different angles themselves here, but they kind of want to go unnoticed. It's a really difficult way to try and play here because you want to put a pressure on other teams as we see Bill, Stability, and E8 go down, but you also don't want to generate too much attention that people start pushing you as Designball's taking a lot of damage. So is Timmy. Got to be careful here.
Managed to retreat to the safety of the teammates. Enemy doing what he can to give as much cover fire as he can to his 2 teammates, but they command zone right now. They are on the God Rock. They have the God spot. And with match point already being hit, the Dojo are so close right now to going and representing North America at the ALGS Championships. It would be a Cinderella story, but you would love to see these 3 players back on that main stage doing what they do best. That is the lay of the land on the left-hand side of your screen. That is where everyone is, and everyone inside of Fragment probably going to die on their way out, Dan. Everyone has to fight here as the zone will force them in, and that just makes the Dojo's job even easier towards this endgame.
The biggest threat for Dojo is the team that just hit match point. It's DNO, who have got to win this one, you feel, to try and send this to match number 7. And I mean, you talk about players who we want to see at championships and the Cinderella story and the comeback story. I mean, what an opportunity it would be for Dupe, Xenox, and Lou to try and find themselves on LAN once again. But to do so, they really have to shut down Dojo here. And if they've been paying attention to that kill feed, they'll know full well that Dojo are the last remaining team on match point who could win here. And Dojo have the zone, but DNO also have a good position. I feel like they could be the last 2 teams that duke it out here in this final circle if they play it correctly.
Duplex trying to just step up a little bit here with that Hemlock in his hands. Opening damage is going to be vital. Secret formula, they need 6 more points to get onto match point themselves. No KP for the team at the moment, but they are forcing their way towards that zone. Keep your eyes on that kill feed. Good shots coming in from right now. Should be able to finish this one off as well and manage to do so. They're getting closer. They're getting closer and closer to match point, but they still need 2 here, Dan.
Still need 2. 7 squads remaining. DNO are starting to pick up some points here, which is catching them up to Furia. Remember, if Dojo win here, it will be second place afterwards as DNO go down. 4 squads remain. Secret formula going to fall as well. We're down to just 2. It's Dojo versus DNO for a chance to be at the Apex Championships.
Dojo, this is your moment. This is where you have to clutch up. They will know it better than anyone how close they are. The Bangalore goes down. The black hole is destroyed. But the Dark Veil is also down. Duplex finds a safe place. And he also has a vantage spot here. Duplex is down! Duplex is down, and that means the Dojo have a chance to move in with a 3v2 to close out match point and send themselves to the ALGS Championships. It's all about being patient here, Dan.
It's all about the patience. It's all about the drama. They've played so incredibly well over the last few days. The LCQ has been dominated by Dojo, and a chance to wrap it up here now with a 3 versus 2.
3 versus 2, still Lou and Xenox alive. Can Dupe get back towards Lou? Are they going to be able to get a res off here? The damage is being done, though, and you can see that Design 4 has given the signal to go. They fly in. The Dojo, they came out swinging, they came out fighting, and they leave with tickets booked to Birmingham. The Dojo will win it. Let's listen to the celebration.
Let's go! Wow, oh my god!
Who's gonna carry the That's the passion. That's the passion right there. They can't believe it, Dan. Almost, I can't believe it either. The story is complete. The Dojo will be at Champs.
Do you know what's even better? DNO are going to be there as well. They were in that final circle. They were in that final 3v3. They've got enough points to be in second place. It was actually better that DNO lost that fight. They might not have known it at the time, but it meant they were guaranteed to go through just on points. It will be Furia who miss out in third place. So we have our 2 NA LCQ teams, and what 2 amazing stories as well. Squads that have gone through so many different team changes, been dropped from teams, formed new teams, and they all 6 of them find themselves at LAN. An amazing result for both these squads.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing. And also, I got to give a big shout out to Design in that final fight. He gets that first pick, and it's so important in that 3v3 to get that first pick and to just play the patient game, wait for that opening, and then convert. That's what they did. They didn't rush it after that, didn't throw away a life to turn it into a little bit of a shaky feeling 2v2 to close things out. Both teams, I think quite rightly, almost poetically in that final fight, Dan. But the Dojo, I mean, what a story, man. What a story. Dominating all the way up to today and then continuing that domination. Amazing stuff from them. We'll bring Rain Day back in for some discussion because this man built Dojos and now he gets to talk about one.
Yes, you can see I lay my stories early and they pay off big. Just like I laid every, well, not brick, because, you know, Dojo was kind of like, it was like mini brick and like some wood and stuff. You don't need to worry about the details. All I'm saying is I said Dojo at the beginning and now we're saying it at the end. What a moment for a team that has so much, I think, behind them in terms of fandom, in terms of experiences, in terms of journeys, in all different areas around Apex to put it together here at the last chance qualifier and take the win. And I just think, like Mark had said, Dan, getting that first pick for Dojo, that was the difference. And maybe it wasn't important because DNO was going anyways, but that's got to give them a lot of confidence in what this team could do on the main stage now heading into September, knowing they've booked their tickets.
Hey, there's a lot of ways I can look at that fight if DNO knew where their position was and they knew who they were up against, but I don't think we need to go into that. All we have to focus on is that both those teams got to that final circle. We saw the positions. One was on the east side, one was on the west side. They just had to hold out the squads that were arriving from Fragment, and when they got into that final circle, I think they probably both knew they were in a pretty good position to get themselves into the Apex Championships. But when you're in that fight, when you've got that adrenaline flowing through you, you just want to focus what's in front of you, and that's about winning that engagement. And Dojo, quite rightly, will get that victory that they deserve. It wasn't, you know, the 132 points that we saw them dominate throughout the winners bracket. They had to work a lot harder and be a lot more tactical about their approach here in the grand finals, but they got the job done, and I'm very excited to see them compete on LAN.
I'm on the east side. I'm on the west side. I'm on the east bank. I'm on the West Bank. It ain't that big a deal. A little shout out to Robin Hood Men in Tights as well. Mel Brooks, one of my favorites. But let's take a look at that final circle, Mark, and talk me through it because, you know, we saw DNO have an opportunity. Duplex, usually a guy that we can trust in those situations. Not that he didn't play it perfectly, but obviously going down first, you got to say there's room for improvement there in this fight.
I mean, this is the first time we're going to see it from Dojo POV, right? And this is the opportunity for us to really see what happened in these moments. And that is the shot through the dark veil from Designful, just tracking and predicting where he is going to be falling, seeing that arc through the air. And I mean, we've talked about Timmy quite rightly, but Enemy and Designful today have been absolutely outstanding. And that kill there is the difference between closing out on match point and maybe having to sweat a little bit longer. The Dojo step up when it matters. And then this is the bit that impressed me most. We know that, you know, maybe there's a bit of adrenaline. We know that Timmy sometimes maybe is victim to that adrenaline and tries to get in there and finish the kills as quickly as possible. But the calls that were coming in, I think there were counter calls from Designful just saying, play together, play this slow, make sure that we don't give an opportunity away. That's what they did. They turned the 3v2 into a win, and they booked their tickets to the ALGS champs. I mean, what a good feeling, right?
Yeah, and massive shout out. Like you said, we talked a lot about Timmy, but Designful and Enemy, they definitely deserve their moments in the sun. I remember back in Sweden after not such a great performance, and then of course in Champs, Designful saying that he was retiring from Apex Legends. Well, he finds himself now back at Champs. Pretty interesting journey for him as well. Enemy's such a talented player, and Timmy, you know his name if you know Apex, if you know streaming in general, pretty much one of the biggest streamers in the world. Now he is finding himself back in that competitive seat, and he is doing extremely well. I just can't wait enough. I mean, let's take a look, if we can, at some of these results. We know what's going to happen. We know these game results. This is how the top 10 panned out, and I think the biggest story was what was going to happen to Furia. That was the biggest question, Dan. And as we look on that backside, it's unfortunate that they went out too early because they had to wait and watch and ultimately see what could have been their spot at LAN heading into Game 6, taken away by these top two teams.
Yeah, I think as soon as Furia went down, they would have just been eagerly hoping that they saw Dojo go down in the kill feed as well. But then as they saw them approach, maybe hoping that the 58 points they had would have been enough to take them to LAN. But as DNO got further and further into the game, it was worst case scenario for Furia when they saw those final two teams competing, and they probably realized it was near impossible for them to go to a match number 7. It's going to be a very tough time for Furia. You've got to give them credit for being able to get in that position, considering the late team change after playoffs and the retirement of his Watson. So, you know, hats off to those guys. It'll be a shame not to see them at LAN, but of course, I'm sure we will see them in year 4 in some capacity. Whether it'll be the same roster, whether it'll be on different rosters, I don't know. But what matters is we are sending 2 teams to the ALGS Championships. It's going to be Dojo from Matchpoint and DNO from the 62 points they accrued.
And if you need a reason to get your tickets or to make sure you're hype about September 6th through 10th in Birmingham, UK, the fact is we're covering 2 stories today. There's going to be 38 other teams there with just as equally fascinating stories qualified for LAN. And you're seeing them right here from the Optic Gaming's now dupe. A little bit of, I don't know, journey back into the good graces. Will he and his team outperform what Optic Gaming has done after changing out his position with Dropped before SSG broke up and they all went their different ways? Go next as well from EMEA, having a fantastic LCQ. We'll love to see them, and we'll also love to see all of our members of North America, like LG Chivas, who had a really good showing. Dark Zero, can they be the unprecedented 4 top LAN winners in this modern era? And can TSM tie it back up with LAN wins? I know we're all going to be excited about that. Moist still left a lot on the table. Fire Beavers and Alliance too. So many stories, so many things to come through. But today we have to focus on the main stories that these players made us tell. That's why we queue up our final Monster Energy MVP for the LCQ. All right, I love Monster Energy MVP. I love Monster Energy in general as well. They keep us supplied during these long broadcast days. But Mark, I want to talk to you. We all know who obviously kind of stood out for us in terms of a brand name, but let's give some onus and some focus on some of these other players as first. I'll start with you, Mark. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go honorable mentions today, and I'm going to talk about Funk from Stallions, because I think that Funk had one of those days which he can look back on and be extremely proud of himself. One of the first teams to get onto match point, looked extremely strong all day, but again, it's just 2 spots. That's the crazy thing about today's tournament. You had to be almost perfect to come out today with a smile on your face, but if you look back on the gameplay, I think he was such an influence on so many good things that happened for Stallions, and he won so many individual pivs that he had to win in order to keep them in good positions. And this was the play from Stallions I think that they'll look back on maybe and have a little bit of regret. That the all-in on that choke play was a little bit, you know, it was a little bit overly risky for me, but again, Funk was superb today. I think he's got a lot to be proud of. Unfortunately, didn't quite get over the line, but as I say, only 2 squads could.
Hey, start of someone's journey, the end of someone's journey. It might be the beginning of someone else's. I think Funk definitely performed well. Dan, I want to slide things over to you, though. Who is your honorable mention before we start talking about our main Monster Energy MVP?
Yeah, I think I know who you're going to go for, Rain Day. Very predictable. But I'm going to go for Zeratricky. I think that when you look at what this team has gone through and the fact that they still found themselves in this spot after making that change from playoffs, there is going to be so much difficult things they have to try and assess and plan when they're going into an LCQ format where they really popped off throughout this weekend, and they came so close. And Zeratricky is always a massive reason to that. Not only is he great with his knowledge of the game and where he wants to be playing and how he wants to play it, but it's also his ability in game to win those engagements and making sure he is always staying alive, getting into those positions and getting good angles to lay down the damage. An incredible damage dealer. It's a shame that we're not going to see him at the championships, but I'm sure we'll see him again in year 4, and I can't wait for it.
I'm sure a lot of these players, this is just the beginning for them, not the end whatsoever, but somebody who is still at the beginning phase of what could be an incredible journey here over these next 2 months to end up in Birmingham. It is none other than it's Timmy, my mention for Monster Energy MVP, and for good reason. I think Timmy displays something that is hard to find. It is that ability to stay cool under pressure, but also amaze at every turn. As an individual player, it's easy to highlight yourself in moments where you can be the star. Timmy's done that in streaming, in YouTube, in every single aspect. But in professional play, what I'm impressed about is how well he's blended with design and with enemy. Doing some of the dirty work here, surviving, getting that extra placement point, attempting to do everything he can to get his team back in, and not having to do much except perform for the sake of the group. For me, Timmy's demonstrating from a competitive level the selflessness, but also the ability to handle any team fight and obviously any individual fight. And that's looking like a very dangerous combination. How far can the squad go? We don't know, but certainly they have dominated here in your Monster in Energy MVP vote for this NALCQ, and I think well-deserved for all 3 of these players who have showed up big today. Congratulations to all of our participants and our Monster Energy MVPs. All right, well, without further ado, fellas, we've been going long for today. We had Amiya, we had NA. Now it's time to talk to one of the players who will be joining us now, not just online for this broadcast, but now in Birmingham, as they have qualified for championships, the biggest ALGS event of the year. It's none other than it's Timmy. Timmy, welcome, man. Congratulations on the performance.
Hello? You guys hear me?
Hey. We got you, buddy. Hey, Timmy, congratulations, man.
Thank you so much. It is unreal, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even need a real question here. I was impressed with just the journey you guys have been on. Talk to me about how it's feeling qualifying for the ALGS championships. There's no bigger tournament, and you guys qualified in first. Incredible.
I mean, it is, you know, actually just very unreal feeling. I mean, I'm super emotional right now. So, I mean, with the amount of like history I have in competitive Apex, and not only that, like the amount of hate that our team, you know, like we, you know, obviously we have our fans, but like a lot of hate, a lot of doubt that we had on our team. A lot of people just thought we weren't going to do well. They always just like just thought that we were, you know, low-key just not the greatest team out there, but being able to prove that, you know, we can do it and that we deserve this spot is just an incredible feeling.
Well, firstly, I want to jump in and say congratulations once again, because I know when you win something like this, it's always good to hear it as many times as possible just to kind of let it sink in. But I want to talk about that final game, because there was a couple of play calls. We had the ability to jump into a listen-in, and we heard, I think it was Designful just telling everybody just to kind of play together. Don't overextend anywhere because of the fact that you were so close to closing things out. When you saw that zone pull back to you, what was the feeling between everyone? Because I think that was a little bit of a surprise for us to see that zone. Did you call it, or was it like a, oh cool, the zone's come to us?
So usually, I mean, that zone for sure was just a crazy pull. We actually usually would think that it ends towards like the blue bins or blue pills or crates on the opposite side where the choke is, and usually we'll just like rotate from that side and then wipe everyone on our side and come in. But that pull right there was just insane, literally just God zone for us. And I mean, right as soon as that happened, we just knew that like it is like, this is our game. We have to win this. This is where we get a bunch of KP at least, but not only that, we have to win. And I mean, my two teammates, they've been to LAN before. They don't have like the nerves as like me. Like this is like the first time. So I was getting a little nervous for sure, but those guys are just incredible. Like truly, I don't think I could be here without them for sure.
Now, throughout the winners bracket, you guys were setting records. I mean, 139 points or whatever it was that you found yourselves. You had like 36 kills or something ridiculous, getting more kills than pretty much any other team was in their total. What changed from the winners bracket to the final for you guys? Because it obviously wasn't as much of a stomp. Was it just you guys kind of sitting back and saying, okay, we need to play a little bit more smart. We can't afford to just be running at everyone. Or was the lobby just a little bit more stacked, do you think?
I think it just was, we were kind of going to the unknown, you know, like we played Challenger Circuit and we did really well. We got second place. You know, a lot of our strategies worked, but like we were still like a very new team trying to like come together, trying to like be on the same page. And then scrims, I mean, in my opinion, the scrims were just very poor quality. It was really hard to actually like kind of get a grasp of what the competition is going to be like. So when we got into the first day of LCQ, we were just kind of, you know, playing slow, playing safe. We didn't have like full confidence like we typically would, as if it was like a scrim, and we just straight up like decided, okay, like we got second. We got second off the first day, and we just went to the next day with just knowing that like, okay, like we had a bad start, but we got 3 wins. We can easily do this. And then we just like started, we had a really good first game. And when you have a great first game, your confidence just like just snowballs. And then we just kept going and going and going. And it was just incredible.
To be fair, I think you deserve more credit as well, because a lot of the circles were very difficult for you at the start of today. You were having to traverse like the entire map at times, from Thermal Station all the way up to the top. But just to go back to that final circle, I mean, you may have not had an idea who you were fighting against. DNO were the other team in the final circle, and actually you killing them helped them in a way also qualify for champs. You did them a favor. But is that going through your head? Are you guys kind of watching the kill feed, knowing who you might be going up against, or is it just complete focus on winning the game?
We're definitely like paying attention to the kill feed. Of course, like Stallions were on match point, Fear was on match point, so we have to really make sure that, you know, if we're like end game zone, like we have to like, if we know both of them are alive, we have to focus them. You know, we have to make sure that they can't, you know, obviously win the match or the game's over, but also still playing our game and getting as much points as possible. But as soon as we saw both Stallions and Fear getting wiped, it was just like, okay, we have to win. We have to straight up win. And, you know, obviously to qual, but not only that, like if we don't do that, then get as much points as possible. So then like we can keep having that momentum for the next game. And if someone else were to win match point other than us, we would be like 80 points or something.
You know, Timmy, I have a lot of things that I want to ask. You know, I've seen you perform at a pretty high level in a couple tournaments recently, and now here, I always comment on just the ability for you to somehow operate in this way that is very clear and concise, and it doesn't feel like the emotion is getting to you. But you mentioned yourself that there was some emotion and there was some nerves, and it's a new thing, maybe getting to that position where you're qualifying for LAN alongside Design and Enemy. I just want to give you a chance before we let you go to speak on anything that you're feeling, any process that, you know, you feel like you've overcome, or just what that is about you that allows you to kind of step up in these big moments alongside your teammates.
I mean, I think I've grown a lot as a player. A lot of people kind of said I was a bad IGL back then, or, you know, just like a pub star, ranked player, inter, just everything that you possibly could think of. And, you know, at times for sure, like I believe that, you know, those comments were right. You know, like I did some bad decisions back then for sure. But I felt like people didn't give me enough credit in terms of like how much I like hard work I put in more in the recent times. And like, no matter if I got better, they always still viewed me as that. And you know, having design co-IGL and being able to feed me a lot of info and a lot of ideas, because he's obviously been an IGL for the past multiple years. But not only that, like enemy calling zones, being a zone player, like it was like it's like a perfect team. You know, like we all do a lot of our part, and you know, I feel like if one of us is missing, then the team wouldn't work. So I really think those two are just amazing, and they really deserve this as well.
Well, you know, one way to speak louder than words online is to put your money where your mouth is. And you qualifying here in the LCQ, I think that certainly will end a bunch of debate on whether you deserve to be there. Congratulations again, Timmy, to you, Design and Enemy, and thanks for spending the time with us here on the broadcast, man.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
All right, it's Timmy here, coming from the dojo, which I have to remind you guys again, I built when I was young, you know, not by myself.
I raised my hand, by the way. I had one thing to say. And then we jumped in. I just wanted to say congratulations, of course, but I'm really excited because the whole crowd once again gets to go, Duke! Which I cannot wait for, man. It's going to be so good to have Duke back on LAN. And I'm sure that everyone's warming their lungs up right now because they're going to be, I'm looking forward to the Duke chance.
You know, I'm excited for that too. I'm glad you had that queued up. We could have coordinated. I have a Go XL over here too. I want to see if you know, we can bring in our fourth, who has been phenomenal all day as well, alongside the three of us to finish this one out. I know that she's on the way soon, but you know, Dan, I guess as we kind of close out, it was great to spend some time with Timmy, because from being doubted to kind of coming in this moment where he feels like it's almost like a redemption tour against a lot of things people have said about him, certainly proving, I think, a lot of the major negativity wrong in this instance.
Yeah, and you know, it's great to see certain emotion and hear what it's like from their point of view, because these people, you know, they go through a lot of hardships where you think, oh, well, they're just, you know, an online personality. They don't actually care about what's happening. But you could tell that it did mean a lot. And there's always going to be haters in every aspect of life. And sometimes proving them wrong is a good thing to get over a mental hurdle yourself personally. So I think that's huge for not just him, but the entire team. And I think that all 6 players who qualified today from North America have their own story, their own difficulties they've had to go through, and like will all have their own emotions they're going to have to face. But it's all worth it when you get to LAN, you get to perform on that biggest stage, because we know that's where everyone wants to be, that's where the crowd's going to be, that's where the money is, but that's where the passion is as well, not just for us as talent, but the players in particular. So I'm very happy for everyone who was able to qualify today, and of course commiserations for those who weren't able to make it this time.
Well, there's always next time. We'll talk about that after, of course, September has come to a close. But right now, let's talk about something that has led us to September in a very strong way. You'll see what I mean in just a moment, because, of course, it's time for WD Black's What's in Your Pack. All right, I say this way, guys, because this weapon in particular has been a mainstay leading every team to a chance at championships. If you don't know how to use it, well, you're missing out. So, Mark, talk to me about the Prowler.
My second favorite gun in the game. As we talked a little bit earlier. Yeah, I play on roller, my friends. Don't worry about it. But this gun has always been one of my favorites as well. And I feel like it was a little bit slept on and only really came to prominence when the R9 went back into the care package and people were picking the Prowler up and going, hey, this thing still shreds and this thing still does so much damage in these close range encounters. And the thing that I really love about the Prowler as well is the burst fire means that at medium range, you can really, if you connect with every single bullet, do some serious damage. One clip that always comes to mind to me was from the first game of the finals, the Split 2 playoffs. Verholst in that end game, firing across the zone with a digi threat, and almost, I think he almost three burst someone who was full shields. I think it might have been Effect he was trying to skip across, and he certainly knows how to use that weapon himself. But the fact you can stick to a digi on this thing, I do miss, I will say, and people get annoyed at me, the full auto on it. I do miss that. Auto Prowler was fun, man, but let's be real, it would, in the current meta, might be a little bit broken. So yeah, the Prowler certainly very fun, but let's just keep it at burst for now.
Dan?
I mean, I Also, I'm on board with the auto train. It was very fun at the time, but also burst fire prowler. I mean, you know, I play other FPSs. It reminds me of certain other guns, so I like using it at times, and I'm sure it's the same for others who have transitioned from one game to another. It just fits right. It feels right in Apex Legends, and in the right hands, it can win championships. Maybe we'll have to see whether it can be the gun that makes the difference when we get to Birmingham.
I don't know. I feel like a new season coming up before then. I feel like we might see the R9 back out of the care package. We'll have to wait and see. But the Prowler certainly a mainstay, at least for now, in Apex Legends competitive. That's been WD Black's What's in Your Pack. All right, and back with us, it's Vicky!
Hey, what's good? You guys are such lovely people. Wait, this way. You guys are such lovely people. I was too busy spamming in Dupe's chat. I was saying congratulations to everybody. It took me some time. And then I hear you guys talking about the select fire, and I'm just like, man, that's how you know I would be onset in a 1v1. I don't use a select fire. That burst does more damage. That's what's up. All right, onset, you heard it here first. We're inspired now after Timmy's words.
Bring that controller to champs. That's all I'm saying. I do not back down from a challenge in the firing range. That's what I'm saying.
Guys, we don't need any more clips for Vicky to show all of us at champs, okay? We won't even be on set. It's 45 minutes with the clips she already has. We can't add more, Mark. Dan, I'll lead with you. Final thoughts on the day. Big day, EMEA and NA LCQs. Wrap it up for us.
I think that if the 1v1 with Vicky and Mark was played online, Vicky would win. On LAN, I'm backing Mark every day of the week. That man does some serious damage.
Okay.
Sorry, Vicky, got to back the duo.
Dan's calling you an online warrior here, Vicky.
Jeez,
I don't know where that's come from.
He's already your duo, Dan. Jeez,
sorry, man. I threw you under the bus there. But an amazing LCQ. North America never disappoints. I think that the 6 players who qualified deserve to be there for loads of different reasons, but mainly they played very well today. And 2 teams that I think could really shake things up when we get to champs and could not just, just qualify and be a team that's at champs, but could probably make a difference and even make a finals lobby with a bit of practice and just finding a little bit of form at the right time. So keep an eye on these 2 LCQ teams. Well,
Mark, your duo backs you up here, but do you back him up in his sentiments closing out the day?
I do. Whenever anyone says, do you want to agree with Dan, there's always that part of my chaos in my head that goes, do I? Just for the sake of it. But no, I think Dan summed it up. But my takeaway from today is we have 2 teams with 6 different players, with 6 great humans who all have fantastic stories that are history throughout Apex Legends. And I'm super happy for every single one of the players that they get the opportunity to do it at the ALGS Championships. That's the diamond, right, that everyone wants to be a part of. That's the crown jewel, whatever you want to call it in the Apex Legends calendar. It's the biggest tournament of the year. It's a huge celebration of Apex Legends. And I think those 6 people, those 6 characters with everything that they've went through over the last couple of years deserve to be there. So unfortunate for the people who has to miss out this time around. There will be another one, of course, we hope. And ALGS Championships, it feels like it's getting closer by the day.
I don't know if it's something that they can value, but I would show up. I would just show up. Even if you didn't make it, just to be in the atmosphere, it's definitely something that you can get excited about and will be inspired from. But Vicky, before we close out, you came back on the broadcast with the 4-box for us. So give us your final thoughts before we head out.
First off, I'm so happy to see some of these returning faces make their way into the scene, and even seeing the likes of Timmy. He's been able to perform in a competitive environment, but this is the furthest that we've ever been able to see him compete in the ALGS. Truly, Timothy is Himothy, and he is going to be there, and it's nice to also see Duke make his way back as well with the rest of the squad. Senux and Lou. Fury were right there. Again, like you guys mentioned, just to wrap the bow on top, it's an amazing experience. Highly recommend everyone to have that experience, to check it out. It's going to be a good time, surrounded by Apex and good vibes and good squads. What more can you ask for in that case? Especially if you get to see the 1v1 play out. You know what? The energy is in person is different. You can't keep that energy online when we're here in person. So I want to see this from our competitors. All right, got to bring it all out.
To be fair, there's been a lot of 1v1 challenges in the green room from Vicky to other players to Vicky as well. So I have a feeling that no matter what, you will see Vicky in a 1v1 in some capacity if you do join us at LAN. Hey, all of you, my friends, colleagues, thank you so much for everything that you've done today. Go rest up. We're going to close the show out, but I appreciate you. Great calls, Mark, Vicky, and Dan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know how it is. When we get to champs and we start talking about the biggest tournament of the year, it means that you should be there in September. The dates are locked and set. September 6th through 10th, we will be at Resorts World Arena in Birmingham, UK. London. You ever been there? Yeah, I've been there actually a couple times this year. I'm excited to go back one more. It's starting to feel like home away from home. You can get your tickets bit.ly/3OTD3TU. I can't believe I attempted that live, but it worked out in my favor. If you need more details or you're more of a mobile person and you're not ready to go and buy them now, go to Play Apex Esports on Twitter and you can go and get all of the details for it, ladies and gentlemen. What a journey. We have seen teams and players build themselves up from almost nothing, feeling like they were not a part of that ALGS journey, having to miss out on Split 2 playoffs. Now, qualifying for the biggest event of the year. It is all coming to an end in September, and so you must mark it on your calendars. I will be there. Everyone you saw today will be there, and we will put on the best show the ALGS has ever seen. Mark our words. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you, production, everyone behind the scenes coordinating this, all of our players. You have been valiant. We appreciate you. And if you're not a champs, we will see you in year 4, I'm sure. But for now, we're going to sign off because it has been the last show before we are crowning a champion in the UK. My name's Rain Day. Remember to never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you at champs, baby.